on the screen. Of course, as you know, today is Nigeria's, third year of the current administration and 27 years of unbroken democracy. Now, many watchers of the democratic tenures believe rounding off the third year on sure footing helps cement the handshake of trust between the leaders and the citizenry. At this point, proposals and projects presented to the people would have started yielding results, structures taking decisive shape, and the vision on the direction of state clear for both the enthusiasts and the skeptics. In this milieu, where concepts have turned to actualities and explanations have now birthed concrete samples, the Nigerian Television Authority will be embarking on an exhaustive dive into the 3 years of the Tinubu presidency. On our lineup, this special broadcast will have interviews with key stakeholders in different sectors of the nation's economy. Expert analysis from industry leaders will also evaluate policy impact and perception of citizens about government's initiatives. Good morning and welcome to NTA special broadcast on the third year anniversary of the current administration and the commemoration of 27 years of unbroken democracy in the nation's fourth republic. Like we say, it is not what you do, but how you do it. I'm Fisayo Ogunfuyi, your anchor on the program. And of course, we have a panel, and of course, we also have a town hall. Before you meet my guest, we'll take a short break. We will be back. Like I said, a lot of distinguished Nigerians, industry watchers, and experts are joining us today. Some of the country's top brains as well. Let me quickly welcome Dr. Umar Bindir, a first-class graduate of Agric Engineering, former Director General, National Office of Technology Acquisition and Promotion, NOTAP, and former Secretary to the State Government of Adamawa State, Dr. Umar Bindir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
And I have a little much younger guest, of course, and well known in the political space, Free Ajanaku, who is a grassroots from the Grassroots Center for Rights and Civic Orientation. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Happy Democracy Day.
And from the youth perspective, we have Shamsuddin Abdulrazak of Glowing Minds Initiative. It is a youth-focused development organization. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
And of course, we have a town hall that has an eclectic look of society, industry leaders, different initiatives and different pressure groups across the divides. We'll be looking at them and speaking with them also in the course of our discussion. Joining us, we have Nancy Bulus and Princess Nikki Onyeri representing women. Thank you for joining us. And of course, we have Olanrewaju Hassan, National President, Association of Tilers, Nigeria, and also Chairman, Nigerian Association of Engineering Craftsmen. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And of course, we have joining us representing people who have been actively engaged in small and medium enterprises. We have Ijeoma Julia Nwora, founder, CEO, AM Foods Ventures Limited. Thank you for joining us. And of course, we have Rashidat Umar, CEO, Oyin Special Enterprises Limited. Thank you for joining us. The town hall is going to be full because we still have a number of guests on the way. It's a loaded package, and we hope that you join us for the full package, so that will give you everything we have, because of course we'll be looking down the entire 3 years of the current administration, key initiatives vetted under the administration, the concepts of the key men in the administration, and what the actualities have been like. Let's start first with Dr. Bindir. Doctor, you have been part of government either at the national or the state level. At this point, 3 years in an administration, what should citizens be looking out for? And of course, from the perspective of those monitoring the policies, what should we be looking out for?
Well, first of all, Fisayo, let me congratulate Nigerians for now reaching the milestone of celebrating 27 years of unbroken democracy. A country that was used to breakages of democracy now literally getting to the 30-year line. Congratulations, Nigerians. Now, yes, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came in 2023. We are now in 2026. 3 years of unbroken Tinubu administration. I think what Nigerians were looking for, they were looking for a reorganization, rejigging the system for performance and efficiency. And certainly the president came in, he met the system in a way. He started literally 10 minutes into his administration by saying, look, we cannot live a fake life of constantly having a fuel subsidy, thinking that we can continue to play ostrich. From there, Nigerians knew that the rejigging has started. And right through 3 years is too brief to start saying, oh, you've done very well, or you've not done very well, you know. So Nigerians should be looking forward to a consolidation phase of his administration, where socioeconomic things will start stabilizing, where infrastructure, with the support of the governors, of course, will start stabilizing, where security in our country will now start stabilizing, and literally we should be looking for the Uhuru time, if you know what I mean.
All right, just while you were speaking, we're joined by our guest via Zoom, Professor Okeke-Chukwu, of course, a public affairs analyst and expert in even security issues as well. Prof, it's nice to see you. I would have loved to wear this attire, Prof. Thank you for joining us. All right, Prof, we'll come back to you shortly. Let's also welcome Arms-Free Ajalanku. Arms-Free, you'll be monitoring the political space as well, engaging with key stakeholders, ensuring that we have, you know, things in top shape, especially as this is a crucial year as well, the year before the year, many will say. What are your thoughts at this time?
Yeah, thank you very much. To congratulate Nigerians and to look at the fact that 27 years of unbroken democracy is a monumental achievement that we cannot, you know, take anything away from. Looking at the fact that we are at a phase of democratic consolidation and we are seeing elements of democratic accountability within the system. But having said that, in terms of reform and policy, I want to align myself with Dr. Binde, but I'll take it from the perspective of strategy. From a strategic point of view, when a leader comes in and brings in place what I describe as stroke of the pen strategies, those stroke of the pen strategies also have to dovetail into behavior change strategies. And so when the president came in and said subsidy is gone, it was a very difficult one to swallow. You know, the people really reacted, and of course, we have had to live with the implications ever since. The reality is that that stroke of the pen of saying subsidy is gone should now begin to translate to behavior change in terms of the citizen being able to see that the sacrifices they are making will then translate. So there's a question of a trade-off. What is the trade-off between the sacrifices of the Nigerian people and the clear realities on the ground in terms of governance outcomes? So are we seeing the local governments responding in like terms? Are we seeing the state responding in like terms in terms of putting in place clear deliverables for the Nigerian people to now say, yes, the sacrifices we have made, you know, have been, you know, worth the while? So this is the crux of the reflection for us as an organization on this Democracy Day.
All right, let's come to Shamsuddin Razak. Glowing minds. What exactly is glowing at the moment, and what are you youths looking at in terms of the realities?
All right, thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians. And it's 27 years of unbroken democracy in Nigeria, and 3 years of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration. So in terms of what is glowing, yes, you know, as Nigerians, we are hopeful people. So irrespective of what lemons have been thrown to the Nigerian youths. So we've been able to make lemonade out of it. So looking back at the last 3 years of the Tinubu administration from the angle of young people, so there have been quite a lot that has changed. So talking about the NEL fund, the students from underserved homes and also in public higher institutions in Nigeria can now have access to say, okay, fine, I can't fund my education. Now this is what we could have to possibly augment pending the time I'm able to have access to education. So there have been also the credit core angle for possibly young people. And also, but then the bigger question that we've actually been working on as from the angle of youth development in Nigeria is the fact that we've had the National Youth Policy, and the National Youth Policy, the last we had was from 2019 to 2024. And we've been at the aims of actually making sure that the new policy comes on board. But they've been back and forth with the Ministry of Youth to see, oh, how do we get it? But then there have been complaints about budgetary allocations and things like that. You know, the NYC GOPS more of the budget of the Federal Ministry of Youth. So every other thing that has to now do with young people, you have to now start seeing how. So for me, it's been good, but then there are ways to be better, especially looking at, we have one of the youngest and the largest population of young people on earth today. Many Nigerians are below the age of 30, and that alone speaks volume as to what expectations of Nigerian youth are from the current administration.
All right, Professor Okechukwu, you have spoken eloquently in different fora as far as your expectation of the Nigerian state. First, 27 years of democracy and 3 years of the current administration. In terms of the handshake between the leaders and the led, how firm is it? And what would be perhaps your expectation at this juncture in our history?
Well, what I see, if you're going to speak about handshake, I would say that the two hands that were shaking each other are slipping further and further away from each other. If what you use to measure it is regular contact with the people, activity in constituency offices by elected individuals, and consultation with the people on their needs before budget, that handshake is not doing too well. But we are here talking about 27 years, not 27 years of democracy, as if we started off with the ideal. 27 years of the attempt and process of creating a democratic culture after many years of command and control by the military. So we must take it holistically, and taking it holistically means that we also have to evaluate all the components of the democratic enterprise. One of them is citizen participation, another is the judiciary, another is leadership culture. One of the more peripheral components have to do with economic stability and infrastructural development. So we can't just say, oh, we cannot be 3 years. It is 24 years, I think, or 25 years that led to the emergence of what we are dealing with today. In that period, beginning from 1999, if you pay attention to the fact that a couple of things happened. At the beginning, because it was just taking off, there was limited thoroughness in screening. So many people won elections, and then it later turned out they had forged documents. If you remember the fate of the first Senate president, by the next election, you had very, very few people who could take that risk. So you see that there's been a progressive distillation process. Now the involvement of the people initially skeptical began to deepen. Within that period, PDP was in office for 16 years. In those 16 years, people also saw things that made them uncomfortable. The democratic space expanded. There was opposition. The opposition amounted to nothing until 3 years ago, until 2015, when the incumbent party was thrown out. That was a new development. Not just a new development that a party took over, but it was peaceful. The man who lost personally called to congratulate the winner, and it wasn't a question of anybody was going to die. But after that transition, a couple of things that happened, which in my view has not helped the democratic enterprise or democratic culture. The 8 years of Buhari is part of the evolution of the Nigerian state, but it was also, in my view, the manifestation of some of the worst reflexes you can see in a leader. If you look at his appointments, if you take, for instance, the entire military and security apparatus was headed by people from a section of the country. At the same time, their section of the country was one worsted by all the security negatives, So these are some of the things to consider. So that when we say we're evaluating our democracy, we can't move on to 2026 and 27 and be saying what did Tinubu do or not do. We'll deal with that, but we also have to evaluate in the process the role of the judiciary. Because if you contest an election and you're contesting against me, and one of us loses, the person cannot announce his own alternative result. He takes it to another division of the enterprise, which is the judiciary. So what must be interrogated would also include the judiciary. What has been the role of the judiciary since in the last 27 years? Are we having more and more cases where elections are not determined after the vote by the courts? If you don't aggregate all of this to assess together, we might actually walk away only looking at the executive arm of government, which has been the pattern and is not helpful at all. 27 years of a nation struggling to create a democratic culture. Some things have been done right, some things have been done wrong. Is an evolution. As it turns out that this is not done well, you try to do it better. Now, coming to the present and the Tinubu government, yes, it came in with a lot of promise. Part of that promise is the expectation of improvement. There was a strategic error on the very day of his being sworn in when he announced subsidy is gone. Imagine that he made that announcement on that 29th. The next day, the presidency rolls out palliatives because, he won the election. It took more than a month before the swearing in, so there was time to prepare certain things. But mistakes are human. What must be put on the table today is that in 27 years, we've learned a lot of good and bad lessons. In that 27 years, we've also seen a fantastic decrease in all parts of the federation. We've also seen a government that, for the first time now, I can actually go for scholarship in Nelfon and get it. What is also put to me is, can we say Nigerians are better off materially and as a cohesive group that they were in the past? My answer would be no. All of us are operating in the same economy, so we cannot pretend that all is well. If we do that, we are misinforming those who are ruling us. There are fantastic reforms, but they've not trickled down yet. This second point must be made repeatedly. Incomes are not increasing, but expenses are increasing. Insecurity has become an industry. There's hardly a week you don't have at least 3 instances. These must be stated as facts, without denying the fact that government is doing something. But when it has also come to that of killing of soldiers, routinely officers, gets more worrying. When it comes to a situation where you're speaking of insurgency and military establishments are being attacked, it becomes a matter that could drown out all the good things you're doing. Those are the concerns, and we can't sweep them under the table. The federal government is clearly facing situations that are difficult to manage. What government must be aware of today is that the degree of trust is declining, not because it's not doing anything, but because the people are being touched at the points where even rationality fails them. Those are the things to put on the table. The other thing to put on the table finally in this initial comment is that if anybody expects magic in a nation with the kind of problems we have, if we don't pay attention that other nations took decades to arrive to the democracy we are celebrating, oh, look at America, it's not happening there. Is this place America? It isn't. Are you doing what you ought to do? The answer is no most of the time. Corruption is there, but what are the usual demands of the people? Money, that somebody in public office has not earned, and that's what you're asking for, and it gives you don't answer questions, you don't ask questions. So when we speak of bad leadership, we must also ask ourselves, what's the situation of followership as contributory factor to genuine democracy or the fight against corruption? Those will be my initial comments.
Prof, of course, as usual, we always start in this your lecture theater, but I have enjoyed it. I'm so happy that I brought my notepad. But of course, we will still return to you. But just like Prof said, Dr. Brindle also alluded to, we still keep on going back to the inaugural speech. Let's take that speech and then we'll come back.
Our administration will govern you only on your behalf, but never rule over you. We shall consult and dialogue, but never dictate. We shall reach out to all, but never put down a single person for holding views contrary to our own. As a citizen, we declare as one unified people, devoted to one unified nation, national cause, that as long as this world exists, Nigeria shall exist. Our mission is to improve our ways of life in a manner that nurtures our humanity. As your president, I shall serve you with prejudice towards none, but compassion and amity towards all. The principles that will guide our administration are very simple. Nigeria will be impartially governed according to the rule of law, the Constitution. We shall remodel our economy to bring our growth and develop the GDP much better, achieve the GDP much better than we have today. I assure you. Do that through job creation, food security, and an end to extreme poverty. The electricity will become more accessible and affordable to businesses and homes alike. Power generation should nearly double, and transmission and distribution network must improve significantly.
All right, that was President Tinubu's inaugural speech. That was in 2023, a day like this, May 29. 3 years after, we're seeing concepts and actualities trying to match them. While some of our members of the town hall sit down, we'll just take one or two from here. By the time they're settled down, we'll go to the town hall. But we heard from Prof also talking about, some areas and things we have to put on the table as well in key sectors of the economy. In terms of, you have, been in government, especially at the subnationals. The president promised that there will be more to spend on projects and programs that would lift the lives of people and move them, from, where they were before, and at least increase the, access to key, needs in life and all that, especially even in the second year, that was 2024. And when we started seeing the windfall from, the removal of subsidy, it got to the subnationals. You have been an SSG. A lot of people say that's where the basket stopped. It didn't trickle down to the local government. And that's why the reality that Professor K was talking about is there in terms of people directly benefiting from the dividends of that action taken by the president? Why has it stopped somewhere and we are not getting it down to the lower rungs of society?
Well, thank you, Mr. You see, if you mop up all the efforts at the federal level, and then you remop up all the efforts at the subnationals, it all points to three things that should tell you whether it's working or not. The first is that being a developing country, it is natural that this country has a challenge with poverty. And our poverty in our country is not like poverty you have with 2 cars, I have 1, therefore I'm poorer than you. No. This is a large population of Nigerians who don't have access to clean water. Therefore, they are prone to waterborne diseases. This is a case of lack of food security, just like the president pointed out, where many Nigerians don't have access to food. Not just food, but quality food. This is a situation where you don't see mothers, many in our country, that will go to simplistic health facilities, deliver their children, and go home healthy. And the list is endless. This is a measure of your performance if it is getting better. And in our country, this is a critical issue. Secondly, just like the youth leader said, when these things are working, you will see that young people are accessing opportunities to get skills to provide services so that they can be self-employed to employ other people or just employ themselves. Wealth will be created from the micro to the middle to the large and be distributed very, very well. Then you will see the dynamics of this wealth creation and jobs create an ambience, an environment of security where people live together, they respect each other, the culture of good ethics developing and so on and so forth. This is another milestone that if all is working, you will see it at the state level everywhere. The third and final measure is that when all these things are working, they don't work like magic. They are all dictated by policy and institutions. So you see the maturity of our institutions coming up such that these dynamic improvements are sustained because institutions are getting better. So when you put all these three things together and you try to analyze from the point of Mr. President when he says that gone is subsidy, the money that we mop up from subsidy, we are now releasing it to the subnationals. And you go down to the subnationals, you see poverty is intensive, you don't see youth employment and culture of creating wealth, and you certainly see weak institutions all over the place. You are right, there are gaps. And for me, yes, I was SSG. The issue of where the gap is that I am a simplistic person. I like real things, you know. It would have been nice for Mr. President to say, hey, governors, I am going to pipe this money to you to develop the bottom of the pyramid. And my plan is this. And the plan is now on your table. You must do 1, 2, 3, 4, and we measure it. There's no way you can measure when the frequency of your relationship, your interaction, your meetings is not very high. To have a National Economic Council of Governors only one day for a long period of time, maybe quarterly or whatever, where you have 36 governors and the Minister of FCT. You don't have time for people to report. There are no documentation to tell you what is it. There's no data to tell you this is where we started, this is how we got the money, this is what we used it for, and these are the results. It's impossible to actually see things happening. So literally things are left to the governors, and then certainly some are doing very well. I can tell you that mine has done very well. He's renewed literally the hope of the people. When you go to Yola, you see the capital city. It has now become the fastest growing city in Nigeria. So things like this, you should see it all over the place. Not only that, you should see skills acquisition centers, very high profile connection between the intellectual community and people through these trainings and so on and so should happen. You will see that products in Adamawa should be going to Lagos, should be going to Gombe, should be going to Sokoto, so that the wealth creation and distribution is all over the place. This is the gap. Unfortunately, this gap cannot be bridged if you are not using digital or logical sequence. You must use your...
And these targets must be met so that when you are talking about, perhaps a reporting platform where the governors come and say, okay, this is the money I collected. These are the projects that are being done. These are the timelines for these projects to be completed. This is the interaction with the people. These are their own needs. This is how we are meeting them and all. Doctor, we'll come to all this, but I needed to quickly get to the panel because they are the tip of, to the town hall, I beg your pardon. They are the tip of some of the concepts we have spoken about. Let's start with women, for instance. And you have been, being different, you are in different parts of, is it agribusiness, is it, talking about women involvement and some of the things that you have benefited in some of these policies, maybe perhaps you might want to, elaborate on some of them.
I'm speaking on behalf of the President of National Council of Women's Society, Princess Azura, and to congratulate Nigerians, to congratulate the President and the First Lady, who we work very closely with at the National Council of Women's Society.
All right, we'll come back to you. I've been told at the studio that we're trying to work on your audio. We'll come back to that, your intervention very quickly while it's being worked upon. Sorry for cutting you short. They would get to your microphone very quickly, and after that we would return to you. Graco. Dr. Bendro stated some of the issues. Is it an issue of, we'll talk about the handshake between, policy, people, putting out the policy and the citizenry who are the, the point where policy calculation and evaluation is really, they are the ones to tell you if it is working, since they are the ones going to the market and all that. How can this be perhaps evolved in such a way that there is better interface between the governed and, and those who are governing?
Absolutely. I think some of the elements have been laid out, and when you look at it from a real scrutiny of this administration, you will see that there has been that attempt at the level of the framework. I'll give you an example. The Attorney General of the Federation went to the Supreme Court to seek interpretation in terms of autonomy for local governments, funding of local governments. And for me, that showed that the administration had that philosophical understanding to come to that point that for the tier of government that is closest to the people to work, for the people to see the benefits, the dividends of the resources of the country, then that tier of government has to be active. And for it to be active, it needs its own funding. But of course, down the line, there has been some hitches there. And so, fundamental is that we need to get the local governments to work to be able to deal with the small issues. There are many local governments today where what somebody would need to know that the impact of government is present is just a cottage road, a road leading to a cottage industry being fixed. Is maybe a road leading from a farm being fixed, or a health center being fixed. And so when you have some of those basics, we can now be talking about, the bigger issues of infrastructure. So I think where part of the gap also lies is the fact that a lot of the people who create the narrative, that things like GDP and all of that, the person on the ground in Nigeria just wants a system that works, a simple, functional system. I want to go to a health center, I can do that without, then of course, we know what the public school system is, right from primary, to secondary school level. We know how much parents have to shell out to pay, to private schools. So if these things are not working, then it doesn't matter how grand the rhetoric is at the center. The reality on the ground would not make the people feel connected to governance in a way that people can see this.
All right, we have two people from the National Council for Women's Societies, Nancy Bulus and Princess Nikki Onyeri. Please tell us a bit about what you were saying before we lost contact with your mic.
Yeah, thank you. On behalf of the President of National Council of Women's Societies, Princess Didi Azura, we want to congratulate the President, the First Lady, and all the people of Nigeria for this celebration that we're doing today, the 3rd anniversary of this administration. And the NCWS is the umbrella body of all women organizations in this country that started 1958, before even the country got independence. People will be wondering, we have been there, women have been there. And we are saying that, yes, there are things that are working well, especially coming from the government in terms of healthcare for women through the Renewed Hope initiative, in terms of education, in terms of women empowerment. This is the year that the president launched the the year for the family. And we are very excited, but there is a missing gap where you have half of your population excluded from governance. Women inclusion. This is where we are wondering, are we not Nigerians? That there is no, women are not brought on board. And we are just saying there is an affirmative action that the country has signed on to, and yet nothing is moving. Yes, the president and the first lady. In fact, we were very excited when during the APC convention, he said the first lady came and asked him, can't women lift the gavel in the National Assembly? And that he promised that he would do something about it. We were very excited, saying that, yes, this 35%, maybe we are going to achieve it, even if it's 20. Look at the National Assembly. We are falling off the cliff. From the time we started 1999, the number of women is decreasing instead of increasing. Are we saying that women are not human beings in this country? The president wants to do something, the first lady wants to do it, but we've just had primaries in the largest party, our party, and we have seen the number of women have almost disappeared.
All right, I would just want to take, something from you very shortly, because the advocacy started in the past administration, if you remember, and somehow it fell at the floor of the National Assembly after all the promises and all that. I think more engagement needs to be done, especially with the legislative arm, which really should put force behind, some of these initiatives. But let me go to Mrs. Ijeoma just next to you there, because she will tell us in terms of the actual, participation in terms of, business entrepreneurship and what they are feeling on the field. What are your comments at this time? What initiatives have, tickled your fancy, and how have they worked out in your field?
Thank you very much. I remain Mrs. Ijeoma Nwora, the founder CEO of AM Foods Ventures Limited. When you look at the MSMEs presently, you would see that so many MSMEs spring up on a daily basis in Nigeria now. We have a lot of us. Because there are no jobs, people tend to just go into business or forced into business. But then, with so many people scrambling for the same thing, there are so many policies. The government is promoting MSMEs. But you find out that the people who are really doing the business do not feel it. We do not get a hold of the packages that the government keep dishing out. We have accessing loans is not easy for the common business in Nigeria. And the ease of doing business keeps tightening up. The access to raw materials, we can't even get by, because of the continuous increase in logistics. Supply chain is not getting easier, but the government is doing something. because we have the agencies who represent them. SMIDAN is doing a whole lot. NEPC, they are working. But it doesn't trickle down at some point. You'll find out that we have trade expos out of the country to move products out of Nigeria. And then when those expos come up, it is the government officials that go to represent SMEs.
As against you, the real
As against the real SMEs.
It's an extra code.
So the government officials go on behalf of the SMEs. And sorry, sometime in last year, we were sponsored for a trade exhibition, AIM Congress in Abu Dhabi. And when we got there, Nigeria's pavilion just had, in fact, it just had flyers on it, no exhibition. Call out for exhibition of made in Nigerian products here now. You will see excellent made in Nigerian products. But when you go abroad, you'll see people from Ghana who buy from us, package our products and present it as made in Ghana, made in anywhere. But made in Nigerian products are not being pushed out. We need more practical than officially written narrative of what we. This morning I had to use cabbage to make my stew. Nigerians are innovative. We are wonderful people. We are innovative. We just need that appearance. Let us be. In Canada, they don't even know. In US, it's Nigerians who are pushing these dates as sweetener. And when you talk about it, they're like, oh. But gradually, everybody is beginning to know that dates is even competing more than honey in the market and refined sweeteners. We have natural things in Nigeria that Nigerians are developing, constantly adding value to them. But how much of it is being shown to the world? Because we don't have beautiful packages. We don't have, we are not China. We don't have that enabling environment to produce packaging materials that will present our products as beautiful. But if the government can help us with the little efforts that we are putting, I'm sure we'll be at par.
Ijoma, Julian, Wara, I must tell you, that was a beautiful summation, though we are waiting for the package. Let's quickly bring Professor K in. You are hearing from some of the entrepreneurs here. There seem to be, I want to quote, because we'll come back to Dr. Binder, you were the one who said there's a valley of death between the research institutes and industry. But Dr. K, you're saying that in spite of some of the challenges, Nigerians are up to it in terms of presenting the best versions of themselves, if just given that push and if the right environment is created for them to prosper. Prof.
Well, yes, but there is a disconnect we must not deny. If you recall, immediately after the COVID pandemic here in Nigeria, in Abuja, the FCC authorities went around charging shops between 250 and 350,000 in order to fumigate their premises. Now, these are businesses that had been shut down for close to 2 years. More than 30% of the pre-COVID businesses did not survive the COVID. Now, as thought of was going to tax businesses that were not in existence. Why I chose to be, meanwhile in other countries like Dubai, they fumigated the streets, they fumigated businesses, empty warehouses. The point why I refer to this is that the tendency for those who are to implement policies to think that their business is to report revenue increase instead of job increment, capacity increment, facilitation of SMEs. That has always been a major crisis, where agencies are eager to report increase in revenue, but not growth in business. That's point number. Government is also talking about providing it, which is clean. So
Prof, okay, I will return to you. We won't, please don't hold that thought. We're working to get back your connection, your signal, your Zoom signal seems to be freezing, but please hold that thought. Prof, please go ahead now. I understand it's better.
Okay, so you find then that the issue on the table, for instance, if you say, oh, government has created 300,000 jobs, that is good news. But you also ask yourself, is government keeping track of the jobs being lost due to the economic hardship? The answer is no. So when you say you created 300,000 jobs, and you find that within the same period, 401,000 jobs have disappeared, you're not making progress. That level of analysis must be done. Also, in the matter of employment, yes, you can speak of employment. Some people are employed, some people are unemployed, some are underemployed. If, for instance, you have a degree in architecture, and because of job scarcity, you take up a job as a receptionist in a 24-room hotel, you're underemployed. That's not why you studied architecture. Now, there's a category that's permanently out of reckoning. The unemployable. Those who didn't go to school, who have no skill, who are in the majority, who are armed robbers, who are begging in the streets, that category of Nigerians is not accommodated in any structure, whether educational or economic, because for them to be useful, they have to be retooled, which means training has to take place. And that is not being planned. It's a crisis of national planning. If you go to the subnationals, they will show you empowerment programs. But we at Development Specs Academy have taken time to carry our research in more than 29 states of the Federation about empowerment programs. And we found out that in the last 7 to 11 years, when there's a state empowerment program, between 40 and 64% of those taking part have been part of previous empowerment programs. That's why it will come, it will happen. There is no trend, there's no this thing. And regarding the comment made by the lady, I think Mrs. Mora, about SMEs, yes, part of government empowerment program includes the training of people in what falls under SMSCs. Now, the point is this. When you teach somebody how to make detergents, and you teach him how to make antiseptics, not what do you call it, Dettol, the equivalent of Dettol, yeah, antiseptic liquids, and you teach him how to make bead. 3 questions. Who is buying the bead? Second, there is no training on packaging. Third, there is no marketing. So you wasted money, they've acquired skills, but they can't deploy it because you won't go to that funny packaging. You go to a place, you see a bottle of Camel antiseptic or Dettol. You buy one that's looking like, the container is looking like what came out from the house of a native doctor. So these youths are being misled into the illusion of empowerment. Government is wasting money, and the bulk of that money, of course, doesn't go into empowerment. We've had calls, with me involved as leading, to also organize empowerment for a state government. And what we found that most of those who were supposed to be working with you to facilitate it were busy cornering what should go to the beneficiaries, negotiating with them behind your back to say, okay, this is the amount, but if you're ready to sign off on this, I kept quiet when I found out, pretending I didn't know. And then when it came to the point of delivery, I busted it 150%. Now, these young people are also looking at this older generation, doing the further damage. So coming around to the issue of, now, particularly on SMEs, the lady has made a very good point about the need for government to support it. But that submission is based on the assumption that many of the institutions are manned by responsible people who are interested in economic development. Second, too, it's often like, look, Algeria, I was in Algeria in 2014, their SMEs are top-notch. That's the driver of the economy. It's facilitated by government. If you have a poultry, you started it with maybe 1,000 birds. Now you have 17,000 birds. The government will approach you and say, yes, you're doing well, sir, but you're overtasking yourself. We want to send you an accountant and a finance manager so that you deal with the conceptualization and expansion of the business, not daily administration, and it will be paid by government. It is still happening today. That facilitation is not happening in this country. And whenever you speak of, she mentioned loans, of course you can access them. The interest, unless you're doing drugs, you can't use the interest from that thing to do any real farming. Holistically, what I'm pointing to is the absence of an umbrella concept of development within which you have the state, actors and beneficiaries working together to achieve one uniform result. So whereas there are nice policies, even with the current government, the human element must be addressed exhaustively. Otherwise, we'll have government spokespersons coming every day to annoy people on television by saying, oh, it's not whether you reform, you change your roof, it's whether the house is still leaking. In this case, it's leaking, kitchen everywhere is soaked. So the more you talk about the size, the cost of the roof, the more you annoy those who are getting wet under the roof. I guess I'll hang it there for now for that to engage.
Thank you very much. You have taken us on a journey. We would interrogate some of the concepts you have shared with us, also with the town hall. But my colleague, Lanre Gbele, is somewhere, one of the legacy projects of the current administration in Lagos. I think it's the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. Lanre, tell us about infrastructure development there and what that has done to that area. At least visibly, we can see that intervention. Lanre.
I wish one of these days you will come to this road and see what is going on here. 3 years ago, where I'm standing is water. As a matter of fact, these are enclaves of private bar beaches, if I can use that word. You pay and you come to the water where I'm standing and frolic on the water. But now it's changed. If you look behind me, you see structures springing up. You see businesses springing up. Vulcanizers are on the roadsides. You see cars running by. It's completely changed just within 3 years of the present administration. And it's 90% completed. Imagine what will happen if all the states are connected on this coastal road. It's massive. It's just 47.7 kilometers completed, and it's just 90%. The second section is about 30%, and they are at the border of Ogun State. And what is happening here is just massive. And let me tell you, Lagosians prefer this road when they are going to areas like Abuja, the Lekki area, to the normal route because it's faster, it gets them there quicker. And there are other projects too going on in Lagos. We have the first, the second, and the third mainland bridge, the popular third mainland bridge. The first being the Carter Bridge, the second being Eco Bridge. We have them. And the federal government is doing what we call complete reconstruction of Carter Bridge after 60 years. They say it's now defective. Eco Bridge is going on. As we talk now, the pie caps, that is the beams, the structures that are holding up the bridge that are defective, they are going to start work on it immediately. And there's also the Okpebi link. The Okpebi link is an intra-road inside Lagos that make things shorter for Lagosians. The population is increasing, and the state government decided to say, look, we need to have shorter routes, faster business decisions, to improve economic decisions, and so on and so forth. And that is being completed. And it's people are saying, look, this is fantastic. If you are coming in from Lagos, you don't have to go all the way into the Lagos metropolis. You can just take a short route into Ikeja, where the powerhouse of Lagos State is. And there's also the school, the Tolu. You haven't forgotten about the Tolu Comprehensive School, a group of schools, about 5,000 students experiencing what we call modern day classrooms and modern day infrastructure, and so on and so forth. There's a lot to talk about, but this coastal road is the biggest one of them all. It has not been completed yet, and people are enjoying it, and it's massive. It's a massive development here in VI.
Thank you very much, Lanre. We'll come back to you. I can see the road beside you there. Even your cameraman wanted to show me your shoes. I don't know why, but we're enjoying the shot. Thank you so much, Lanre Gbele. We will come to the town hall now. You heard Professor Oke talking about some of the interventions. Maybe I should go, to Lanre Waju Asan, National President, Association of Tilers, also Chairman, National Association of Engineering Craftsmen. What are the challenges, and what are the inroads also that the policies have made you to achieve in your sector?
Okay, good morning, Nigeria. It's a pleasure to be in the midst of these great Nigerians. We are looking at 3 years administration of our President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It has been a good one, in as much as we are having it going on. We experience it, all Nigerians and eat. We are not here to deceive ourselves, but to tell ourselves the truth. From my own industry, we talk about artisans. I'm here to talk about artisans and craftsmen in Nigeria. My name is Engineering Craft Olanrewaju Hassan, the National President, Association of Tailors Nigeria, and also Chairman, Nigerian Association of Engineering Craftsmen, that is NAEC. NAEC is established under the auspices of Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, that is COREN. So we are part of engineers. And on that note, when you talk about artisans, you talk about craftsmen, we are all under NAEC, that's Nigerian Association of Engineering Craftsmen. And if you talk about artisans in Nigeria, this present administration is trying its best. I must say that because we all see sometimes when the major things go to ITF. So we see their activities, which we know that they are doing their best, that they know to do, especially this President DG. The former President administration, that's Muhammadu Buhari, we feel his administration. Why I said so is that, ITF, the former DG then, was able to carry the artisans and craftsmen along. When we talk about artisans, we are divers. I'm talking about the artisans, craftsmen in building industry. We also have artisans in mechanic, we have artisans in tailor, and also so on and so forth. But I will talk about the one I know. So then, there was a program that ITF was doing that time. I was there because we certified them. Nigerian Association of Engineering Craftsmen also have its president. That's Honorable Usman Umar Makunkele. It's resided in Niger State. Our office is in a Koren office in Gwarimpa. That's where NAEC office is, because we are part of Koren. So now, that time we satisfied them about ITF DG then was be able to certify about 500 and something. Because before you can be licensed by Koren, you must be certified by NAEC in order for you to be licensed, because that's one thing that we will appreciate this government as well, because they are working on, you can see recently now one house collapsed in I forgot this place, this market. If you are going to Gadua side, that's last week, 3-story building collapsed there and it's under construction. So the question is, what's the problem? Quackery. So this present government is trying as much as they can to be at least before you can be practice these things. If you go to other development country, I've not been there. I know I'll be there, but I'm not going there to go and labor for them. We hear the story. You must be licensed to practice. But Nigeria, the case is different. Someone can wake up tomorrow now and carry trowel and say, I'm a Messi. Then the next thing you meet him on the street, because you are looking for Messi, fine, you don't know where to find them. But I can say here now that if you are looking for professional, plumber, tiler, carpenter, mention them. Come to Koren, come to NAEC. You get your desire and you get it right.
I think you have made your point. I don't want us to lose track of what Professor Oke said in terms of some of the gaps between industry, research institutes, and also some of the policies that could enable the cross-fertilization of ideas, and also being able to get the best out of some of these MSMEs. You have been at the head of, seeing some of the innovations that Nigerians have come up with in NOTAP while you are heading NOTAP. You came up with so many initiatives to see the best of Nigerians come up, register some of this there. But what are the challenges? It's not enough for you to have good policies. We must also be able to have people with skill and to be able to, innovate and take advantage of some of these things.
Well, even if you sample within the studio here, you'll see the National Council for Women's Society. This is a big group, very influential group. And they've spoken to you some of the challenges they have. It's a non-governmental organization that is trying to breed and then ensure that the challenges facing women and where they're making progress is there as a block. You see, Madam spoke about SMEs. She also now, there are women there. So in other words, you see that she is saying there's a lot of activity, most especially by women, in the informal or small sector, which the National Council of Women's Society must know, if you know what I mean, so that they can complement. Baba just spoke now about the craftsmen. Many of them are also women, right? And they're trying to make sure that they translate these knowledges into practical things, standard and so on. The gentleman here has spoken also about youth. There is women too in the youth. So Nigeria is not short of efforts that are all over there, but they are in tiny, tiny little islands. One of the biggest challenges we have is how do we celebrate success? How do we mop up all these things centrally to make sure that we can document and see clearly whether we're making progress or not? Synergy, partnership, complementarity is a key problem. Second, this country is well blessed that it has 310 universities scattered all over the place. And a university is not a joke. You have lecture theaters, you have workshops, you have everything, you have professors, you have PhDs, labs, and so on and so forth. 300, there's no country in Africa that has this kind of energy. In addition to the same kind of number in polytechnics and so on. The next gap is that the gentle lady from SMEs, ask her, how is she tapping the knowledge from that knowledge ecosystem to make sure that the the packaging, the standardization and so on works? There is a gap there. How do the women's societies now reflect? There's so many girls and women, lecturers and so on, women. But how do they come and help them to showcase them factual things that this is what is happening around the world. This is how we can take advantage. This is how we can deceive or convince our leaders to ensure that they promote women and so on and so forth. There's a gap there. The youth, people and the... So again, it's synergy. Nigeria has it, but it does not have it. There's no way you can have 310 universities functioning very well and still you have 60% poverty. That shows you that, yes, you have the brains, but also you have the suffering. How do you make the brain jump to ensure that you reduce the suffering? Is the value of death. You mentioned the value of death. So we must be able to be the architects in our country to build the bridge to ensure that we too, we know and we apply. And how do you do this? You do this because you have to be omnipresent. You have to borrow this character of God to be present in many places at the same time. How do you do that? You need data. Unless you have the Women Council will drill out to you that this is the information. The SME woman will say this is the information. When you put the information together, you can see women entrepreneurs and their challenges. And there's something women societies can do. Then you see youth. They're also in the data. His own data will go there and so on and so forth. Data must be solid, but we don't like data. You know why we don't like data? Because data will expose you. If you're doing wrong, data will show. If you are doing right, data will show. And we naturally, we like doing wrong things. You know, we like to nick things without somebody seeing. Data will not allow you to do that. But now we are doomed. Doomed in the sense that AI is here. Artificial intelligence is here. Wherever you are hiding, whatever you are doing, AI will find you. And the future is certainly technical, scientific way of approaching things. This is the way we can solve our problems. We have everything on the table, but we're not using it very well.
You've spoken about data, and even me, I'm looking at the data of some of the contributions I've made today. I'm not particularly convinced that I've done enough. So I will need to quickly get the youth to rescue me from that. Dr. Bindil has said some key things, especially in your sector. Are you still waiting for handouts? How have you been able to maximize the knowledge base that we have here? And some of the things that, for instance, youth groups could prioritize, as we've seen in the Asian Tigers, we've seen in other climes, not just waiting for handouts, getting groups wearing T-shirts and, campaigning for one thing or the other to get handouts. Something sustainable from that sector.
Yes, one thing that is commendable for Nigerian youths is the fact that when you look at our demography, we represent 70% of the Nigerian population. And that particular...
You are speaking to data?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yes, and when you look at that, you look at how we've actually been able to possibly harvest that particular opportunity. So if you look at it, out of this 70% of the population of Nigerian youth who are young people, annually we produce about 600 to between 600,000 to 400,000 people who go through the NYSC. And you also produce about up to 1.5 to 1.9 million young Nigerians who are possibly going through into the university bracket. So you get that data from JAM. So in between also, you also discover that we have some people who at the point of maybe university, or possibly they are not in the university, they are also possibly not in, so there's this what we call NEET, not in employment, not in education. So they are also that particular segment of young people.
Some will say that those are canon fodder for violence.
Yes. So again, so when you want to look at it, you look at a situation whereby some children who were doing the Almajiranchi some 6, 7, 8 years ago, where are they now? So which sector is employing that particular population of the Nigerian youths? So you want to possibly, so we have different demography of Nigerian youths. And when you look at it, we sometimes, for some of us who are opportune, who possibly have access to education and maybe international opportunities, one of the things you see is the fact that a lot of this pocket of opportunities happens here and there. Now, looking at what the government is currently doing, the Federal Ministry of Youth had sometimes last year launched the youth dashboard, because every ministry in Nigeria today have a particular program they are organizing for young people. And what happens, there was a particular engagement we had with National Directorate of Employment, and one of the things we had from them during our engagement was the fact that they have repetitive participants. So somebody learned soap making from NDE in January. So there's another empowerment from NDA on maybe fish farming in November. That same person is still applying. Now, the Nigerian youth are seeing government opportunities as more of like maybe it's a way of sustaining themselves. So you see Nigerian youths registering for 3 or more government opportunities at the same time. So I'm collecting, for example, Empower. I'm collecting maybe any other government opportunity that is also coming. So that's where they possibly stay afloat.
Okay, so let me just stay with you briefly. I'll go to the youths just now. Tayo and a number of the youths here, just get ready for this. How do we eliminate career participants? You know what I mean by career participants? Yes. People who participate in every of government's initiatives. You see them, they have more than 60 t-shirts of different initiatives. What is the conversation in your youth groups to make sure that after you benefit from some of these activities, this initiative of government, we can come back and say, okay, this is where you are now, having benefited from this initiative?
Yeah, so from the development sector, so what we do thorough, what we call project concept planning. So there's what we call the immediate outcome or the immediate output of the project. Okay, we've carried out the training. Then there is the outcome. Then there is the long-term impact of the project that we're looking at. So mostly, I think first and foremost, government has to take leadership in looking at, for example, what we're currently clamoring for within the Nigerian youth ecosystem is for we to have the new national youth policy. So the last we had was in 2024.
So what are the main things in the youth policy that will move us from where we are to the next level as far as Nigerian youth are?
Yes, so for now, one of the reasons why the last youth policy failed was the fact that there was no commensurate budget line for it. So we said, okay, we want to take about maybe 1.5 million Nigerian youth to possibly be tech innovators. But then there is no commensurate budget line. Where is the money going to come from? Who is funding it? Are we talking to development partners? Are we talking to AFDB? Are we talking to Islamic Development Bank? Are we talking to, or is it coming from the budget of the federal government of Nigeria? So when we do that, and there is now commensurate follow-up in terms of, okay, who gets what? And when we talk about digitization, we should also be able to look at beyond digitization, because one of the things we've also experienced is civil servants in the ministries frustrating digitization project of the government. When government says, okay, we want anybody from anywhere to possibly get it and apply. People will apply, then those in the offices also will frustrate the effort. So you might have somebody who is coming and has a very good, has a very good intention to say, okay, we want to liberalize this. Nigerian youth from any nooks and crannies of Nigeria should be able to have access to it, but then you see frustration from those efforts. So one thing is budget allocation. So there should be, so for anything that we are actually planning for Nigerian youth, there should be commensurate budgetary allocation to say, this is how we want to achieve it, and this is when we want to achieve it. It is until that, then we possibly now engage more with possibly co-creation. So we've moved past the idea of maybe sitting in the office and just coming up with documents. We need to co-create with young people to be able to get what exactly we want.
Okay, perhaps your organization and just like you should engage with the Ministry of, I think it's Information Technology, Communication and Information Technology. There's this 3MTT project going on. Interrogate it and see where, you know, your members can be a part. So let me go to Tayo. Tayo just completed his National Youth Service Corps and is looking at a very bright future for Nigeria. I'm sure he has a lot of things and you know, plans out there. But Tayo, talking about a young graduate, you know, coming in into the Nigerian labor market, or perhaps want to be self-employed, what are your expectations and what would you like government's intervention to be?
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Fisayo, for that question. And the thing is, when I finished school, it was actually very hard to, you know, see some of these opportunities that have been talked about. It was hard to even get into them and all. So, and that now makes a lot of Nigerian youths decide to fend for themselves in terms of being freelancers instead of, in terms of like, you know, being self-employed rather than depend on the government or depend on a firm that they can cling to, because we have seen that it seems to be more sustainable to rely on ourselves than to rely on other people. So now, what I feel like we would like the government to do for us is that please do not frustrate these efforts we have made for ourselves, because the more we try to better ourselves, I feel like the more it will rebound and we'll try to put that betterment into the country as well. So it's because some of these policies that the administration have brought up have kind of thrown us off the rails. I could say the new tax policy, although it seems like something that would be good in the long run, but taxing freelancers who are just trying to get their own ground, trying to build their own selves, is definitely going to frustrate their efforts, and it will just make the country harder for us.
Oh, okay, I understand where you're going, you know, startups and, you know, some of the challenges around it. You know, somebody was saying to me some time ago in Abuja about that he was just thinking of, you know, paying for a store. And then he saw something clamped on the other store about payment, and he moved away. So we will go to all that, and you know, perhaps you know, another aspect a lot of people would say is you know, critical to ensuring that society moves on an even keel is security. One of the zones that has been bedeviled by this is the northeastern part of the country, and we're being joined by the SSA to the governor, that's Governor Umar Zulum's SSA on security, joining us. Dauda Ilya, thank you for joining us all the way from Maiduguri, essay on security there. How is the Northeast at the moment in terms of you know, security? I understand operatives are trying to get the audio, you know, right for him to respond while they are getting set to do that. Let me quickly come back to Graco. You've listened to what everybody has said. You interact at the grassroots. I just spoke to Dr. Bindri. He was SSG. They know how this money doesn't get down to the local governments, but he said he's not involved in that. He was not involved in that.
The data shows that.
No, we have to interrogate the data so that we'll know whether he was involved. But you know, so why is there always the hold-up is always there when it is about to get to the third tier of government?
Number one, I think we are a very competitive country, and That's because we have a population, a very huge population, and everyone is competing. Of course, people say Nigerians have this "a better person, my neighbor" mentality, wherein people try to also take more than they actually need from the system. And so where you have the instances where you talked about career participants in government employment and empowerment programs, of course, that is the syndrome, the fact that there is no movement in the system. But of course, that's human behavior where they find the opportunity, where somebody finds the opportunity that they can abuse a system and there are no safeguards and there are no guardrails to prevent that abuse. Of course, the human nature is that, they will take advantage of that. So how do we deal with that? Because the question is not to agonize, but to organize in the context of how you arrest those kinds of behavior. And the way you deal with that is to ensure transparency and accountability. And that's why our organization has been very emphatic about the role of third-party monitoring in government employment and empowerment programs. And, whether you talk about the conditional cash transfers, you talk about, the youth empowerment programs, we want to go with understanding what is the overarching philosophy governing the transparency and accountability of those programs. What's the program management principle of those programs? What's the distributive justice? Because you also have to talk about distributive justice. People with disabilities, women, how do you ensure that the program goes round? And of course, there are key institutions like the National Council of Women's Societies, which can also be instrumental in that whole process. So in the end, I think civil society oversight is critical, and that's what we offer as civil society. Then, having said that, I think I would need to pivot to the issue around innovation and productivity, which I believe is a very fundamental issue if we must move the next generation of Nigerians to a point where they can become productive. I didn't hear any of the people who commented on the SMEs, ease of doing business, talk about the power sector. The power sector is the irreducible minimum that will determine whether we are innovative and productive or not. And I know of communities in this country today where it's the community that will buy transformer, that will buy the poles, that will carry the electricity into their houses, and even where there are challenges, where maybe there's an outage, the transformer gets bad and all of that, it is still the community. And so if we do not get that part of our infrastructure right, then the whole discussion around innovation becomes a discussion that would not move forward. Because as a youth trying to do some freelancing, you need power. As an SME, you don't have to be running generator, incurring costs on diesel and fuel to be able to produce what you want to produce. So even the whole process of packaging you talk about, can you package in the absence of power? So this is something I believe that the administration needs to take a critical look at, so that we leapfrog from this current situation in which the whole discussion around industrial productivity and innovation is that we are running a generator economy. We're still running a generator economy, and that is not something that would help us to be productive and help us to move down the line of where we want to be.
All right. Earlier we were trying to link up with Dauda Iliya, SSC Media, to the governor of Borno State. If we can get him now, just give us an outlook of how things are there. For some time, there has been a push and pull between citizens and outlaws, and government has tried to deploy men and materials in defense of the nation and your people in Borno State. How has that been in terms of the fight against insurgency and returning your state back to what it was, the home of peace?
Okay, good morning, Fisayo. I hope, and happy anniversary to Mr. President and Nigerians. Like you rightly stated, Maiduguri, Borno State, is the epicenter of the Boko Haram insurgency. And for the past 16 years or so, the state has been battling with insurgency and other criminal activities. Analyzing what Mr. President said in his statement today, that the federal government have intensified military operations against insurgents, bandits, and other criminals across the country. I would like to state categorically that we have started seeing the fruits of these military operations. Of recent, the Nigerian Armed Forces have intensified military operations in the strongholds of the Boko Haram insurgents. The three major strongholds of the insurgents are the Sambisa Forest, Mandara Mountains, and the Lake Chad Basin. And we have seen the success, the recent success by the military operations, by the killing of one of the high-profile commanders of Boko Haram insurgents, that is Abu Bilal al-Mainoki, and other fighters of the Boko Haram insurgents. And I've also seen the release of many civilians captives from the Boko Haram insurgents. And this has really helped the recent military operations in the resettlement effort of His Excellency Professor Babagana Umar Azalum. In the last couple of years, His Excellency has resettled more than 1 million people back to their communities. And the part of the process of resettlement is to get clearance from the military that this community is safe for civilians to return back to their communities. After receiving the clearance, now the state government and other development partners will go into the communities and rebuild some of these communities and resettle people. So the success or the recent security operations have helped in resettling communities like Dara Jamal, which is in Bama local government area, Mayanti, also in Bama local government area, and Wala in Goza local government area, where communities have been rebuilt and people have moved back to their communities. This is as a result of the successes recorded by the military in the ongoing military operations. Yes, there are drawbacks sometimes because of the nature of the conflict, which is asymmetric in nature. So sometimes there will be operations, there will be there will be attacks in military bases and other communities, but because of the gallant nature of our military and armed forces, they will fight back and also intensify operations which will enable communities also be safe and stay in their communities. And also we have seen increased economic activities and livelihood activities in some of these communities. Before now, it will be very difficult for one to travel from Maiduguri to Monguno to Baga. But because of the successes of these military operations, without escort, people can move from Maiduguri to Gubio. People can move from Maiduguri to Monguno to Baga. People can move from Maiduguri to Goza. People can move from Maiduguri to other parts of the state, except where very few locations where you need military escorts, like Maiduguri to Dambua, and even Maiduguri to Bunia, DBU, you don't need military escort. So this is with regards to the successes recorded by the military operations. And like we said, the target of His Excellency Professor Babagana Umar Azalum is to close down all IDP camps that is in the state. He has succeeded in closing down IDP camps within the Maiduguri city center. He has now moved to local government areas, and where there are IDP camps, he has assured that before the end of his administration, he will close down all the IDP camps. Some IDP, internally displaced persons, are living in Monguno, and he assured that he will move them to Marte and other communities. We have IDPs in Bama, and that is why he has intensified his rebuilding of communities to move these people back to their communities. So this is kudos to Mr. President for deploying military assets, hardwares to the northeast to ensure that these insurgents have been smoked out from their hideouts, and we have started seeing this. Aside from the security situation that you've mentioned. I would like to highlight some of Mr. President's achievement in Borno State in particular. Mr. President has approved the establishment of one of the critical assets that is critical assets in terms of manpower development. That is establishment of University of Agriculture and Entrepreneurship in Bama, which he has also approved the appointment of management staff of the institution. It will soon start academic activities, and the establishment also and the operationalization of Federal College of Education in Goza. Students have also commenced academic activities in the institution, and the National Orthopedic Hospital in Azeri, Hawul local government area, which before now you have to travel to Kano or Kaduna before you get orthopedic services. So Mr. President was able to establish these centers of excellence to ensure that more human capital development are trained in this field, which are very critical to the post-insurgency recovery effort of His Excellency. In addition to that, His Excellency recently approved, Mr. President has approved 68 billion naira for the operations of the Maiduguri Emergency Power Plant, which is very important because it is the power plant now that supplies electricity to Maiduguri metropolis and surrounding local government areas. Before now, Maiduguri rely on a national grid, which the infrastructure is from that is the infrastructure that is electric infrastructure from Maiduguri Gombe line. But with the establishment of this Maiduguri emergency power plant, people of Maiduguri, the residents of Maiduguri and environs, now rely on this electric supply without interruption. So Mr. President has approved 2 billion naira monthly for the period of 18 months to ensure that there is steady supply of electricity, to ensure that the economic activities is not halted, and to boost socio-economic activities in the state and other parts of in Maiduguri and other parts of the state. So these are some of the very critical achievements of Mr. President in the last 3.5 years, aside from other economic interventions that Mr. President is providing to internally displaced persons, to refugees, and other vulnerable people in the state. You know that we have a lot of refugees that are taking refuge in neighboring countries of Chad, Cameroon, and Niger. So part of the effort to ensure that resettlement of these or repatriation of these communities is to provide livelihood support to these people and ensure that there are communities where they can be resettled. And he has been supporting these refugees in the repatriation effort. And we have repatriated, with the support of Borno State government, many refugees back to their communities. So this is, in a nutshell, the effort of Mr. President support to Borno State, and His Excellency Professor Abagana Umar Azram has also been managing the resources that he has been receiving from the federal government, which has increased because of the increased monthly allocation of the federal government. His Excellency Professor Abagana Umar Azram has been managing these resources prudently and judiciously, which has infrastructural development in Maiduguri and other parts of the state. Many roads have been constructed. Many flyovers have also been constructed.
Thank you so much.
Many houses and other critical infrastructural development.
I don't expect anything less, SA Media. I don't expect anything less from you, SA Media. You have to go there, and I understand you are doing your job. But I will bring Professor Ike Okichukwu back into this conversation. You've dropped a lot of papers concerning security and made comments as well. You just heard from the SA Media to the governor of Borno State there. All this that we have been talking about, linkages in industry between the town and gown, loans to MSMEs, infrastructure development, even buying of international conglomerates to come and invest in our economy cannot really be fully achieved if we don't get that security milieu right. Prof, your intervention.
first, I'd like to congratulate the Borno State Governor, mainly in connection with resettlement of former occupants of refugees, facilities. But I'll raise a few issues, beginning from Borno then to the wider nation. In 2012, we had gone to Borno to organize a training for all the spokespersons of the military and paramilitary agencies involved in fighting insurgency. In the course of that engagement, we went to visit the Sheikh of Borno, told him our mission, he welcomed all of us, and then opened what I saw as a can of worms. He said, you see, what the government is doing in the name of resettlement is self-deception. That we are the people of Borno. We know people who did all kinds of things in various communities. Some, in the case, he cited a few instances where somebody killed a family of 5, only one of the children is remaining, several others. He said then the government will come and carry these criminals, take them somewhere, say they are doing rehabilitation and orientation. In fact, he used the expression, they will take them and go and put powder on their face and give them a new dress and tell them to come back to the community. And he asked, which community are you going to come to? Clearly, the government, even the Borno government, knows the problem of acceptance. You're walking back into a place where many of the people were victims of your criminality. So at the official level, yes, you may speak of resettlement, and most of it is real. But the psychological and social damage to the soul, if I use the expression of the people, is there. So Shehu raised that point. Then also 2014, we had cause to go there again for a different reason. But more critical was my visit to the multinational joint task force in, I think 3 or 4 years ago, in N'Djamena. We came into Maiduguri, spent some time there. It was for 10 days, and we met with all the 4 countries concerned, other they are put together by the MNJTF. And we requested a meeting with the traditional rulers and the women leaders, and they came. It was a frightening revelation. They told us that, look, we know a lot of things. Right now, we have no problem with the insurgents because for any community that has worked out an agreement with them, they don't get attacked. If your farms are working, they know how much to pay to go to their farm and for harvest. Even them, that their children are members of the Boko Haram group, and that the alternative was to have the children killed. So instead of losing our children, our husbands, we allow them. They follow them in operations, but when they are back, their guns are taken from them and they are integrated. For those who are not back, we're even allowed to meet them once a month or something like that, spend time with them and collect food. Now, that's the reality. The other reality is that you find that in most of these places, the local government chairmen don't live in the place. You're talking about local governments that get hundreds of millions in a month. They don't live there, nothing happens. And many of these communities that have been out of their location for between 2 and 10 years or more. What has happened there is that re-desertification has taken place. So even if you're going to talk about farming, the soil has to be reclaimed. Now, why I'm saying all of this is that part of the country, the Maiduguri, where all that exists, is known for certain farm produce. If, for instance, I was doing wheat and millet and the rest of it and sugarcane, the supply from there has dropped by over 90%. Is that being restored? Again, 7 years ago, I did an article on Zulum. Actually, the title is on the back of this day newspaper, Why Zulum Needs Help. And that was why at that time, that was when he was receiving surrendering insurgents and all of that, and IDPs. And I was making the point that, look, this is the resources of Borno State and Borno people being poured into the gutter. Because when you have spent 60 billion on all of this, there's nothing wrong with it. But the challenge is, are you investing in something that can reproduce any? The insurgents, the reception of them was much and all of. So I was pointing out that the government needed help, not just in terms of funding, but to understand that this investment in surrendering Boko Haram people will not in itself ultimately be the solution. So right now, I'm glad that the SA media has spoken to us. And if you look at the long list, as far as I'm concerned, The good news is the resettlement. IDPs cannot be a permanent feature of our lives. The other question is, what do you mean by resettlement? Taking them back to their location and supplying them still what to be, it will be drained. And then, if the list also suggests a major challenge with the perception of what government business is. The soldiers, the work they are doing there is not their job. You're talking about areas that have been secured and the other place where you now need military escort. And I ask myself, for how long? For how long? Zulum has had an 8-year tenure, more or less, of battling with all of this. And I ask the question, yes, you're building houses. Is development taking place in Borno State? I'm not talking about whether you're doing road. Development is not the same as physical infrastructure. It is multidimensional with economic, socio-political, even aesthetic components. Are we having that? So the thinking in government, and this is not about Borno, is that the reference that was made earlier to the coastal roads. Yeah, fantastic project. But where is it leading to? With all due respect to the good thinking and work that has gone into it, such a national priority. The road from Lagos to Abeokuta to Lagos to Ore to the east, one of the busiest in the country, has not been fixed in 20 years. The same with Lagos, but they're always working on it. So prioritization is the issue. When you list programs like this showing what government is doing, nobody will deny that government is doing it. But the question you will have to answer is, what is the multiplier effect? Is it leading to development? Is it enhancing local economies? To buy a new dress up and come out is different from saying what the condition of your parlor is. This is the concern. These are some of the issues that are not being taken sufficiently with a holistic perspective. So yeah, I will hang it there, because when you talk security, yes, you are talking Borno. Look at all over the country. Part of what I believe the purpose of this program is to speak truth to all of us, without denying the fact that government is making a lot of effort, but to make the point that in terms of trickle down, in terms of impact, yes, the head of ISIS has been killed, but as he's being killed, I think the deputy, that is very good news and government must be commended for it. But also within the last 1 week, have we not had up to 8 instances of visible interventions by the insurgents and bandits together in different parts of the country? This yes. So there are more fundamental issues. And what government is dealing only with the top announcements of great achievements without trickle-down effect, its believability will.
Okay, all right, Doctor. Okay, hopefully we'll get back to you. It seems as if Prof. Okay, sorry, I mustn't downgrade your intervention. You have done so well for us today. I will still be returning to you for your interventions. We'll get back to the town hall now and look at people with special needs shortly. Before then, quickly, let's go to the senior citizens. If the Taiwo can help us pass the mic to Dr. Wumi Hassan right there. Doc, you are saying, you know, so you've heard some of the conversations from the perspective of the senior citizens. Have you been carried along in all these processes, and what else would you want to what would you want government to do to take that, you know, population of our lives along, especially in terms of what you can still do for, you know, the nation, and as well as even, you know, the quality of life after service?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Once again, I'm Dr. Wumi Hassan, the CEO of iTech Center for Nigerian Women and Youth. And for the last couple of years, we've had a whole lot to do with women, with youth, with children. And interestingly, very recently, we discovered as we were going from state to state, empowering women, empowering youth with technology and children, we just suddenly saw that 1/3 of the people who will come for the trainings are senior citizens. And so the big question was, what is going on? Sir, you are retired. Ma, you are retired. Why would you want to come and learn something new? And that was when the reality dawned on us that a lot of people actually retire in Nigeria without planning for what happened after work. And that's a big deal, really. I listened to my prof, Professor Binder, and a whole lot from the prof from the other side. And the question, like my sister from the MSME spoke about, is that when our people go to all these international meetings, when you are in government, when you are doing any business, you are in any organization, what is the plan for you when you are retired? I am very happy to know that the former leadership of Nigeria, when President Buhari was here, actually started this National Senior Citizen Center. And since they started, they have done quite a lot to make sure that across all states of the Federation, senior citizens were taken care of in terms of their health, geriatric health trainings. They have established a lot of organizations who are caregivers to the senior citizens. And in our own organization, we were interested in, because of course, like we said, artificial intelligence is a technology, is the order of the day. So we began to see how do we bring them on board to be able to use technology to drive their change. Some of our speakers had earlier spoken about things we have seen abroad. One of the experiences I had in the US, from the moment you come in for the program I went for, which is a high VLP, International Visitors Leadership Program, you will see that retirees, seniors, were the ones to welcome you. They take you on tour guide. Again, I'm saying this because I want different ministries to see where they come in to support retirees. They take you as tour guides. They are employed back to the system. They have the history of so many things. When we got to NASA, that is the aerospace organization, you see retirees, seniors, who were the ones telling us the history of how an aircraft was made, what happened, and they bring children. When we started this initiative for the seniors, we've had some of our members who are retirees across states who have gone back to relearn and reskill themselves because they needed to be relevant. Many of them retire at ages that they are still active, they are still agile. So what do you do with them? So it is not talking about seniors as even the aged ones, 80, 90. You see there, we had a solar panel assembly class, and a grandma, 80 years, was in the class. And she did the solar panel very well, assembling it from the scratch. That's to tell you that we have a population of these great men and women in Nigeria who are doing well. Lagos State has the post-service scheme for retirees, and we were brought in with other stakeholders to train them on recycling. As I speak with you, we have minimum of 30 groups of them online who on a daily basis, they carry waste from their environment and they begin to translate it to economic development for themselves. We have so much that the ministry or the agency, NSCC, is doing. We have a new DG now. When the former DG was there, I know she was doing a whole lot on healthcare, on giving them, the persons with disabilities, some of them that have health challenges, they take them through situations. We go to communities to meet with them and then solve their local problem, their personal problem. Health-wise, they help them with exercises, they give them tools and materials. But what we are seeing at Nigeria with the president, this third-year edition, is to say these are people we can't neglect in the society. Every time I hear my youth talk about we are 70%, we women say we are 50%. So I ask myself, what is remaining in the population? But critically, what we needed to look at is, like you have said at a certain time, how do we synergize? Where is the data? I was in the US for a program, and this Uganda journalist was reporting to us, not knowing that I was there as a Nigerian, another lady was there as a Ugandan. And then he said, oh, in Uganda, they don't have ABCD. And the lady flared up. And then the question was, where is your data coming from? And then the guy said, okay, I'm in Ghana because of the problem in African countries. I can actually go there because of security, but I have journalists who are giving me information every day. So the question goes back to you, journalists. Go back to the media. What are you giving to people? Where is the authenticity of your data. Who is giving you those information? Prof was discussing it online and was talking about very critical issues. I'm sure Dr. Bindu there too will say to you, the Nigerian problem we have fundamentally is that we don't have benchmark data. We cannot say to ourselves, this is 2026, can we pull it together and say, okay, this is where we are today. In the next 1 year, this is where we're going to be. For the youth, we are saying they do empower, they go there. In fact, I had actually been in the meeting in the National Assembly where we were trying to see solutions for young people. And the young guy stood up and said, I am one of the beneficiaries of Empower, but I'm working with so agency. So somebody is taking salaries in 2 places. Nobody is marking who is doing what. We have other people who have different things they are doing, and yet they are still somewhere. We have teachers who are teachers in government school, but they have their private school somewhere running. We have medical doctors who are medical doctors are in a government hospital, but they have their private clinics, and yet exactly. So these are basic questions that we need to begin to take decisive, critical. This AI thing, I always ask all of us, what is AI doing for us? I read computer science. So if people talk to me and say AI is the order of the day, I tell them more than 30 years ago when I was in the university, we did artificial intelligence as a course. So it isn't as if it's all totally new. But what is new about it is that nobody gave us the tool to do it. So for the youth in the house, I'm challenging you. My brother from NAEC, I'm challenging you. We can't continue to speak on these issues. And let me say this to you. For a lady like me, and I'm excited that NCSW or NCW, yes, you are here, because we are women. I can tell you from when I was a teen, I have been a member of the NCWS Teenagers Group, and we'll be singing Women All Around the World, Abi, our song. But the question every time I ask is, what have we been doing? If you talk about China, talk about Japan, talk about US, their governments put in place policies, but the citizens are all out to implement the policies. I have done the policy for Nigeria on science, technology, and innovation, and I can tell you that almost every policy you see in Nigeria, in a document form, they are perfect. But implementation form, where we don't even know about the policy, is very difficult for us to implement it. And for a few of us that knows about the policy, what is our advocacy to make sure that we operate it down the line? For the SME community, I can tell you, when you pick any document or policy of government in Nigeria, done by eggheads, people like Dr. Bindo, people like my prof that was speaking with us, these are cerebral people that knows what they're talking about. So the document is great, but the advocacy must go out. What I'm going to say to Mr. President on this 3rd year is that if all you do for the next 6 months in Nigeria is to sensitize Nigeria like Dr. Dora Akuili did before she passed on, a great Nigerian woman. All she did in NAFDAC was to let us know what NAFDAC policy is talking about. That policy was not written by Dora, but Dora ensured that all Nigerians knows about that policy. Youth, can you take the policy of the youth ministry and let Nigerian young people know about it? Dr. Bindo, sir, thank you for being here again. I celebrate you. Can you ensure that all the policies that we have in science and tech, including myself, Nigerians know about it? Same for education. So same about women, and then leave us in the next 6 months as Nigerians to implement them. But we need backup. And when I came in and we're discussing, we are talking about the government funding that has come all this while. And Mr. President has done something fantastic that nobody had done before, ensuring that local government has funding, states has funding. And that's why we are seeing in Abuja that our own FCT minister is making Abuja look like a city that is from wherever. Anybody is going everywhere. I say, are we in London? We are seeing Nigeria. Why? Because there is a deliberate, conscious effort for the government to say states and rural areas must develop. So the accountability question is where we need to ask ourselves as Nigerians. If you go to a state, you see something beautiful. I was in 1 or 2 states. Wow, am I in Nigeria? Where are the people in the other states asking their governors what is going on? Asking their local government chairman what is going on? Again, election is here. My women, I know they can give us ashrebi and we can dance everywhere. If we are asking for the women to be on the table, we are not continuing to dance again. We should be decisive. You can't continue to dance and you expect the same person you are dancing around to come and put you on the same table with him. So we need to stop some of the things we do and be serious with what do we want. The young people, you need to come out boldly. People will say we are not you are not employable. Why are you not employable? You went to university for 4 or 5 years.
I will come back to you, Doc.
You need to come back.
I really enjoyed this intervention. In fact, I think my executive director and the DG are saying that we should just keep you on, but time is there. We will have to bring you in back. But let's bring in Mrs. Alege right there. If you can pass the microphone towards her there, so that she can make some interventions as well. Is Mrs. Alege there? Yes. So if there's anything you want to add to what she has made, and the NCWS, I think you should engage her, you know, in some of these discussions. She understands the anthem of the NCWS, but she has forgotten that she's a member. You have to recruit her again now so that she will bring these interventions on board. Ms. Alege, please.
Well, thank you for bringing me on, Mrs. Ebunlomo Joanna Alege. I have my master's in computer science and maths, master's in information technology, I meant to say. When I retired about 12 years ago, I had nothing really to do. The best thing I could think about was to set up a catering service, hoping that I'll be able to collect my money from my contributions in pensions and all that. But eventually, I think I was given like 1/4 of it, and I went into it. I still had my daughter in secondary school, and as a widow, I knew I had to survive. We're in it. But the way things are now in the markets, when you enter in the morning to buy something at a particular price, you go back in the evening, is a different ballgame. It has made even the catering service or the job, I mean, making nonsense out of it, for me particularly. But then, like, why was I not able to have access to all, I mean, what I contributed for my pension? I saved it for my retirement. Why am I not getting it? Why was I not given the whole thing? Let me decide what I want to do with it, such that, I mean, I believe if I had been given that much, I would have gone into IT, more of IT, than the catering business that I had to go into, because that was what I could afford then. That's majorly my concern. I see some of the policies are coming up, but I think, like we are saying, or some other, I mean, the prof said, I think our major problem is us, we individually. Like I said, you enter the market to buy a particular item in the morning for a particular price. By the time you go back, it's almost double the price in the evening. What happened between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m.? What happened? I will give you a typical example. We had a catering order. I mean, we bought a basket of tomatoes for 50K on a Wednesday, and a bag of tatashe for 35,000. By Friday, we went back for another buy. Tomatoes, as at Friday, was 70,000, and the tatashe was 55. By Saturday, it was 100,000, and a dustbin basket of tatashe was going for 12,000. So what happened? I mean, we're talking of, I think we are more of our own problems than any other thing, I mean, we can think about. It's not the leadership per se. It's we need to look inside. We need to think about, I mean, have mercy, pity each other, not being selfish about what, I mean, we want. It's like everybody is just in for he or herself, the best I can get out of the system.
Thank you.
I think God needs to intervene.
I think you have made your point. Madam, yes. You are nodding your head. You wanted to make an intervention? Madam, beside Madam Alege, you wanted to say something? Because when she was talking, you were saying something. I mean, you were nodding your head. Dr. Bindi was tasking me here. He said, "Have I not been going to the market?" I said, "Doctor, I thought you were in the laboratory." But please go ahead, ma'am.
I am Barrister A.B. Austin, MNI, from the National Council of Women's Societies. I am nodding my head, supporting the point she is making in terms of inflation. The inflation is getting too much, and Nigerians are having the bite of it. Inflations cannot rise without, for no reason. Even if petroleum products are getting high, the inflation rate is not measurable to what we are getting. And so the government should check the inflation rate to know the percentage of inflation that should be at that point. Secondly, the issue of economic empowerment, which is the most important thing for women. Most of the policies that are being rolled out in Nigeria, most of them are not at the grassroots level. People don't know about the policies, just like Doc said. And advocacy is necessary, and that's what National Council of Women's Societies is doing. But we, to go to the grassroots, it takes logistics, it takes funding to deliberately make effort to get to the villages to tell them this is the policy government has made for you and tap into it. But since the information is not getting to the grassroots, the policies are on papers. And I was in NIPS, National Policy for Strategic Studies last year. And we looked at so many policies. We dealt on digital economy, youth empowerment, and sustainable job creation in Nigeria, of which I was asked to do also women economic empowerment and sustainable job creation in Nigeria. Our findings have been sent to Mr. President before we left the institution. The findings have been sent to His Excellency, Mr. President, for implementation. Because if those implementations are carried out, a lot of jobs will be created in terms of digital economy, youth empowerment, women empowerment, and sustainable job creation. So I am demanding that government agencies should look into those policies, programs, recommendations, and implementation strategies that have been profiled so that we can make a headway.
Doc, thank you for the intervention. Just put it in front for the entrepreneur. I will come to you shortly because you may want to speak to, the issues that we have been speaking to, and some of our guests have spoken to earlier. Talking about value chains and some of these, inflations that it seems to be induced by even middlemen at times. You have studied value chains, especially in your stint in the Ministry of Science and Technology. It seems to me as if some of these value chains, somewhere in that chain, there are some people taking advantage of the situation. Even when you talk about the rise in prices, the artificial rise in prices of commodities, crops and crops that are even in season. The farmer doesn't get much. Between the farmer and the market, the middleman has taken more gain than the farmer who has toiled for the better part of the year. How do we break this? They seem to even hold the farmers to ransom. The farmers beg for you to take up all their produce. They even beg the middlemen for, some of this, and then you are coming to the markets, you see the prices so astronomical.
Yeah, well, with the value chain, it seems some people go to steal the chains and just leave value in the air. But you see, let me tell you, let me digress a little bit. In this studio, again, I give example. based on what my mentor once said before he died, may God be with him, Professor Borishade. He said Nigeria is one of the few countries where you have so many jobs without workers, and so many workers without jobs. Again, another value of death. So I said, Prof, what do you mean? He said, look, when you see this type of inflation is a reflection on the distortion of supply and demand. If you're producing this thing very well, and the demand is low, certainly the price will collapse. If you're not producing, and the demand is high, price will skyrocket. So he said, so the government intervention is to ensure that people get the benefits to continue producing and manufacturing and adding value, and then enticing the demand side to be able to recognize this. So made in Nigeria should be for Nigerians first before you run out. Are you with me? Now, somebody mentioned about scholarship. Government has done very well with scholarship, student scholarship. Would it not be nice? I saw this in China, that every student who benefits from this must be a Nigerian. He or she must have an address, and follow the houses where these students come from. Put a flag that this house, a student is benefiting, and you'll be shocked to see that people whose children should not be getting scholarship are actually taking the scholarship. You go to Maitama, you see flags. You go to Asokoro, you see flags. And you go to villages, you will not see flags. This is the value of implementation with intention. Two, if, for example, I worked in the Pacific. That's why I became a professor of engineering in Pacific. And the psychology is a student, before they graduate, they had already seen so many jobs that they can do. Very short example. I met a guy near a shopping mall, and he was sitting there, and he followed me as an expatriate worker. I said, oh, he wants a job in our institution. And blah, blah. I said, what did you study? He said, mechanical engineering. And we're a training institute. And we took him. We didn't give him a job, but we trained him on how do you produce compost? How do all these trees that are lying down all over them, nobody's chopping them. How do you chop them? Put them into bits. Put microorganisms, let them digest and become compost, and you can be able to use this to produce vegetables and so on and so forth. He didn't produce vegetables. We trained him to do this, and then we now got a job for him to green the streets using this compost. For example, like if you take the road, the Ahmadu Bello Way, you can have something like 100 employees just making that road very beautiful. The hedges have flowers. They are cut regularly. What government does is that, or the local government does, is that it makes sure that it compensates them with something. And then you will start seeing flowers all over the place. You start seeing chaps who knows about biology of these things. This is a huge industry. But go around Abuja now. You see all the trees have taken over the roads. They are leaning down everywhere. When you chop them, you don't know where to throw them. The garbage is all over the place. That is an industry. But to do this, you need to deploy the knowledge. That's where the science and technology comes in. And you are not, if you are not talking to University of Abuja, you're not talking to AB or University of Ibadan, you will not get that quality information on how do you take advantage of this. So we are in a rigmarole. We are just running around cycles and blaming ourselves. But actually our country is a beehive of entrepreneurship, a beehive of prosperity. But to take that advantage, I come back to the point that your knowledge is very, very important. If you are not doing the right research, if you are not producing the right technology, and if you are not communicating well, you will not see what is in our country for you to take advantage of. An Indian told me, an Indian entrepreneur in Lagos, came to my office when I was in Nota. He said, well, Dr. Bindi, your country is full of dollars on the street. The dollars are everywhere. I said, what do you mean? He said, no. You need special glass to see the dollars. And that special glass is the knowledge. And they come, you see, young, these Star Times, very young, 3 chaps came. They came to my office without good shoes. That's how they started the Star Times. They came and they had technology. I said, look, you don't have this paper. Go and in 2 minutes they are back with the paper. And then I'll put another bureaucratic stop, thinking that Chinese are taking over now. I said, no, you have not gotten this certificate. So I say, okay, sir, thank you, sir. They go, in 2 minutes they've brought it. When they start, look at Star Times today. It's a huge industry. It is even challenging DSTV. Are you with me? 3 young chaps. They are now in Dubai. And the more, look at the railway. Railway, we cannot do anything. We cannot lay it, we cannot run it, we cannot drive it. Why? This is all jobs for us. But to think that a job is always in an office, a government office, with an employment and a salary at the end of the month, I think that dream, you better wake up to that and be able to take advantage of what we are. So young people, you have this, but that synergy has to happen. If that synergy is not there, it cannot work.
But Prof, just let's look at, in universities as they are today, do they even promote this kind of thinking? Because we've seen universities come, the achievement of the VC is that you renovated the gate and fences. We don't hear much about, research results.
Well, Dr. Umi will tell you, she's a very, very vibrant and energetic. I didn't know that she's into senior citizen projects. Now she's very flexible. But she knows that for the last 20 years, we've been trying to do this. If you go to University of Ibadan today, right? That is very, in fact, if you just see people walking slowly, they are professors. This hall, this stadium, the studio here, you see that if you just take abstracts, meaning the introductory, the summary part of a paper from University of Ibadan in the last 5 years, it will fill this place up totally. It means we're working. You don't write paper or nothing. But I can tell you, if now ask University of Ibadan to say that of this whole knowledge, how much is this knowledge is helping our farmers? How much is it helping our women to establish this and that? That is now where the big question is. And you are right. How do you get these institutions to understand that they are the foundation of development? Our governments too. You spoke about local government, give local government their money. Yes, you are transferring the money. But if you transfer the money to the wrong person, you're not going to get it. So it is also equally important that you make sure that local government chairmen understand that knowledge is important. Members of House of Assembly understand. For you to get these people to understand, it means you have to raise the bar to say you cannot be a local government chairman unless you are this and that and that and that. At the moment, that's not the case. You can get right up to even senator. And he's not aware that even Nigeria has like 310 universities. It's not his fault. You cannot give what you don't have. So these are things that I like what the NCAW they said to do with promoting this. But anyway, if you check, they have an office in every single ward of the country. And there are nearly 9,000 wards. They have an office, since MAMSA time. And these are structures when you partner that you can tell local people this is what is happening. You can take the highest level of technology, drone technology, down to ordinary people to see that they can tackle their insecurity using that. This is the way to go. But certainly, Mr. President, I hope he's listening, Your Excellency, this knowledge system has to be coordinated very well. This knowledge system has to be utilized very well. In fact, it will happen when Mr. President declares the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology as also coordination minister for technology, engineering and innovation, meaning that you've given the gentleman, young man, the power to coordinate all this to make sure that Nigerians are aware that we're hardworking in the knowledge economy as well.
Thank you very much, Doc. I almost wanted to, distill your thoughts to a paper. Perhaps you give me a paper, I'll give it as a handout to students later on. Let's go to the entrepreneur very quickly. Your experiences so far and where the intervention should be.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
We're talking about Ms. Rashida Omar.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and good morning, Nigerians. I'm still congratulating Nigerians for 27 years of unbroken democracy. As for me, my colleague here, Mrs. Ijoma, she has said it all. Where the intervention should be is for creating an enabling environment for business owners to strive. Basically, the power sector, we really need a lot to be done in the power sector because it really carries the whole luggage for us. If we're not able to do good timely production, and production that would not have too much high costs, I think we'll be able to do a lot, channel our energy more on the branding and packaging. But because we have to spend a lot of time trying to do production because of the power supply and every other thing, it really now brings us down to doing substandard to a certain level. So, and most of us want to do something more standard, but at the end of the day, it becomes so expensive that most people cannot afford. Then when we talk about inflation in the market too as well, sometimes we cannot really blame most of these traders, because if they sell off what they have at that point and they go back to the market to buy again, they cannot buy it anymore too. So sometimes they're like, okay, I have to sell it the way that when I go back to the market, I'll be able to afford it. So you see, at the end of the day, it still boils down to the economy, that it's not stable.
Okay, let me ask you this question.
Okay.
Let's take bread, for instance. When the price of flour reduced, and I think yeast, bread still remained the same.
Because, do you know, for an entrepreneur, because we said entrepreneurs are problem solvers, you know, sometimes when we stock up for production, when we stock up for production, you don't stock up for production for a day only. You might be stocking up for a month. So when the price gets down, you had already stocked up for that other price. So sometimes you have to sell that for over a period of time before you can come down. Then at a point, maybe before you come down to again, because the price fluctuates like every day. So most times before you get back to the market to restock again, it would have gone. So sometimes the issues are really not really something as a straight line. It just keeps going off and on. And the thing is, at every point in time, everyone of us should do our part. As much as we tell the government to do their own part in creating an enabling environment for us, then we in the field too, we should do a lot of collaboration and partnership where we can do these things and understand where it's going. Just like the data, we're talking about data. If we too understand the data early enough, we'll be able to prepare ahead of time. But the fact that we don't work with data, we just work how it is. So it doesn't help us to see what is coming ahead or what we have done in the past, so that we'll be able to balance what we have presently. So I think that's what we need to do. The government, we stakeholders, and every one of us in Nigeria, we really have a part to play for stability in business.
All right, please just hand over to Mr. I think that's Mr. Agbo Christian Obiora. He's been here waiting patiently. I hope you enjoyed your cup of coffee while you were waiting, sir. So let me just, bring you in now. In terms of opportunities for people with special needs, has the government, over time, been more sensitive to the realities that you face, especially in contributing to nation building?
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I also want to thank NTA for always giving us opportunity to participate in this town hall. So, and I want to also congratulate Mr. President for his third year in the office. So, having said that, I want to give a background on issues of persons with disabilities. You know, we have gone a long way. We have a Disability Act, the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act, and we also have several policies: policy on inclusive education, policy on albinism, policy on sexual reproductive health rights of persons with disabilities, with emphasis on women and girls. We have all that. And when you look at the issue of employment for economic empowerment for persons with disabilities, there has been a whole lot of challenges, but I must tell you that there's one thing I must commend about this present government, is that they have actually maintained what Buhari started, because for persons with disabilities, we have not had it better than when Buhari was in office, because we struggled for our law for 19 years, and it was the late President Muhammad Buhari that actually signed that particular law and gave us the opportunity to begin to now engage, to have a tool to engage. So then, but this present government have actually continued with that particular implementation of the law, because we have the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, and they have actually continued with that commission, continue to fund that commission, even though we are not satisfied with the rate they are funding the commission. And again, they have also appointed a special advisor to the president on special needs and equal opportunity. Buhari started it and they continued with it. It's something that we are very proud of. And again, they also, I think they actually did like 10% on social intervention programs when on Empower and conditional cash transfer for persons with disabilities, though because of lack of data, we can actually say this is the number of persons with disabilities that have actually benefited, but we know that they have actually included persons with disabilities. Then
can I make a little intervention? Just now, in a few months, we'll go for the general elections. And for one reason, because of your interventions, INEC has always tried to make sure that they look for persons with disabilities, persons living with disabilities, to make sure that they are, encouraged at the same time. Assistive devices like Braille and all are brought on. Can you, perhaps engage in such advocacy also? For instance, encouraging your members to come out when they see the share number. Because it's democracy. When they see the share numbers, politicians respect number. Once they see the share number, that's by putting your thumb, on the ballot paper, you can affect things. There might be, even more solid, nod to some of your initiatives.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I think we're actually doing that for our people. We are encouraging our people to participate. Even in this coming election, a lot of our people have actually come out to be some of the candidates in different political parties. And the idea behind it is that we want representation. We want also to begin to be where the decisions are taken so that we can actually talk about our issues, because they say he that wears the shoe knows where he pinches. So you will not actually understand what a person with disability go through if you're not having a disability. But all the same, I want to also correct you on something when you talk about the issue of terminology. Before I continue, you say people living with disabilities.
No, I've been corrected, even from the director. Persons with disabilities, yes.
Yes, it's persons with disabilities. And also we don't use special needs for persons with disabilities because everybody have a special need. So also it's not a special, it's just a condition. So that's that. But INEC, I must have to say this, INEC has been doing so much for persons with disabilities. So they have a framework, and again, the new Electoral Act also recognize the participation of persons with disabilities. And INEC have actually come up with a lot of assistive devices. So what we are doing with INEC is to educate our people to understand that they actually have the opportunity to vote. We know there's still some issues, there's still some challenges, but we will continue to engage and see how all those challenges can be addressed. So that's exactly what we are doing. But I also want to talk about the issue of economic empowerment of persons with disabilities, because there's a whole lot of challenge that persons with disabilities are going through. And I want us to actually understand something. Persons with disabilities, when even come to government intervention programs, they are giving persons with disabilities exactly the same thing they are giving others. But I want to tell you something. There's what we call disability costs, the costs you must incur as a person with disability. And those costs, they are not thinking about those costs. And that makes it very difficult for you to succeed as a person with disability, even if you are an entrepreneur, because we have a society that the entire infrastructure against persons with disabilities. For example, in F60, we don't actually have accessible buses. And for that reason, for me as a wheelchair user, I must make use of the most expensive means of transportation, because I cannot actually make use of the buses that government have provided because they are not really accessible. That makes it more expensive for me to carry out my duties on a daily basis as a person with disability. And again, most of the buildings are still not accessible, making it difficult for me to even interact with the people I want to interact with, and making it further limit my opportunities as a person with disability. And that's why I continue to see persons with disabilities as, when you talk about poor people, we have the highest number, because their opportunities are very limited and government is not doing much. We believe that government is doing something, but we want government to do more to actually give us more opportunities. And how will government do this? Is to actually encourage. We have a policy on inclusive education. So how much are we doing to ensure that the schools are very accessible and there are these assistive learning materials to actually enhance the learning process for persons with disabilities? Again, most of the infrastructures, the road, the buildings, the railways, the airport, Have we tried to make them accessible so that we can actually carry out our duties? Again, when it comes to issue of programs, government programs, how much are we doing to consider what I call reasonable accommodation for persons with disabilities, so that at the end of the day, they can be at par with others? Because by the time
the potentials, especially in terms of some of the things that you can do in terms of abilities that we are losing simply because not much is being.
Yes, government is losing so much.
I will still come back to the panel shortly. Madam will come back to you, Nancy Bulus. We have Felicia Ogwe-Taylor, who is likely to see you in some interesting things for us. But Professor Oke has been there waiting. I'd like you to give us your final interventions. You've listened to Professor Binder. You've listened to Dr. Wumi Hassan. Please just give us a wrap so that we can let you go.
All right. The first one I'd like to touch on is the question of the universities, capacity crisis, you know, the use of research outcomes. That is a problem on its own, but the problem with universities. Over the last 40 years plus, the better paying sectors of the economy have actually pulled off many or most of the best graduated students. And we've carried out studies, and you find that not up to 2% of universities able to retain their best students. So you find the second best or third best actually producing third-rate academic results. You have, if I'm a professor today and a graduate student, I never paper or saw one. I'm the one now awarding degrees and determining whether somebody has an A or not. My undergraduate work, in the references and bibliography, which is actually part of what is assessed as technical quality of research, I scored 0 there. Today I'm marking PhD thesis, among other things. So there are many problems bedeviling the university. And if you look at it also and you consider that consistently, government has never really been able to meet its commitment to the universities, you ask yourself, if today there's any national emergency requiring 2 trillion, government will provide the money. Or somehow it manages never to be able, and it has nothing to do with Tinubu government. But this government has even been a little more upfront and upcoming with them. You have cases where it's 6 years after an agreement they're training to go on strike. So the problems, there are multiples of those problems. The last note on which I want to end is the issue of statistics, which has come up repeatedly. And the lady mentioned the experience with the Ghanaian, the person who said, who was speaking from Ghana, and telling you about what's going on even in your own mother's kitchen. 3 issues. Most of the time, and at the highest level of international discourse, statistics are purely conjecture. We should never forget that. Something happens now, and Amnesty International will come up and say, oh, X number of insurgents killed, this number of people, and all of that. A flood has occurred. Over 2 billion naira worth of properties destroyed. In a place, what was destroyed was 42 huts, each of them probably costing about 700 naira, 300,000 or 400,000. Speculation, because you must ask all these agencies that are reputable sources of statistics, how many people do they have on ground? And that includes even the Federal Office of Statistics, purely conjectural and speculative. And the one that will shock you, now, the question of number of out-of-school children in Nigeria. 2006, I was head of communications in the Federal Ministry of Education, and we were told 10 million children, 10 million Nigerian children were out of school, and that looked like a fantastic figure. Now, at that 2006, this number had been touted for about 10 to 11 years, constantly. We said, no, it cannot be true. What was the solution? We picked up the census figures, 2005 census. If you look at the number of children that ought to be in primary school, it was 47-point-something million. Now the number of children in school actually was 23-point-something. So at the primary level, there were over 20 million children who are not in school. Again, if you look at the secondary level, the number of children who ought to be in secondary school was 33.9 million. The actual number in school was 6.4 million. So at the secondary level, there were over 27 million children who were not in school. Meanwhile, the numbers we got came from international community, international quote-unquote agencies. Then the killer was the one on number of schools in Nigeria. From DFID, from all of them, we got a very reliable figure that the actual number of schools in Nigeria, secondary schools I mean, was 9.7 million secondary schools. The minister called me and said, okay, do you believe this? I said, there's no way it can be. In my state alone, this is what we have. To cut a long story short, the Federal Ministry of Education under Obi organized the school census. By the time we finished counting, we came to 14.5 something. So nearly 15 million secondary schools were in existence. But the statistics among all development partners and Nigerian government was 9.7, meaning that close to 50% of the schools are not on anybody's radar, and they are sending students forward. So that's the whole point. So when people prance up and down and say, you know, oh, you need to get statistics, and these international agencies tell you, oh, this month alone, this number of people were killed by Boko Haram. This number of people were killed by Boko Haram. Where did they count it? So the issue on the table is three things I would say, and I'll close. Number one, we're on a democratic journey that is 27 years old and which we must sustain. Number two, in the course of that journey, there will be terrible ups and downs, policy missteps, actions of government that will be misunderstood, people in government whose behavior will even suggest that the government itself is irresponsible, is part of the progress. Look at it in every nation. Thirdly and finally, citizenship responsibility. What demands are we making of our leaders? What is our reaction to leaders who, from being extremely poor around us, once they get into office, in 7 months, they have 6 cars. They built a house of 250 in the same community. The traditional ruler gives them a title. They occupy the front seat in the church. Are we helping ourselves? Are we not damaging the future generation? Because by such behavior, we're creating new paradigms. If you want to be important, it doesn't matter what you do. Just get wealth. Get some money. It doesn't matter how you get it. Whether you steal it, you become an illustrious son or daughter. Those are the core.
I think Prof has... Prof, please round off.
That will be it for today.
Thank you very much, Prof. But I must assure you, you are an illustrious son of this country. All right, Professor Kekechukwu there with several interventions there. But let me quickly go to Felicia Ogu. You have been, patiently waiting. You are a seamstress. I want you to see you in some interventions today. Whichever one you prefer, a seamstress or a fashion designer. Tell us the challenges and some of the inroads you have made in your business. I know you people have been in business for the past few weeks that conventions have been on, but on the normal day, tell us some of the challenges.
Good morning, all. I'm Felicia Ugu. I'm a tailor. So in my own field, we are having a big challenges, which is power. We can't produce without light, and there's no light. So the light issue has frustrated many people in our tailor session, because some people will come out in the morning, from morning till night, there will be no light. And you can't run generator because of fuel. So we don't even know where to start it with. So we don't know where to start it from. So if light will improve in this country, it will go a long way. For us, we tailors will be very happy for it. Because for now, as it is now, we are in a, we are having a big challenges for that, because we don't even know what to start. We don't even know what to do. You understand? Every day, fighting. You see tailor, be going to, customer will carry tailor to police station, here and there. So it looks like we don't know what we are doing. You understand? So sometimes I will look at it like this, I will sit down and think of it, it. I don't know in fact. Because you will see tell this one is coming out from police station, this one is going in, this one is coming out, this one is going in with customers, which is unfair.
All right, I think your response is tailor-made for the next interventions that will come up. Let me quickly, thank the panel for being a part of it. The young ladies who will be coming to you with the next presenter, Omini Oden, will join us. Many thanks to Dr. Bindril for your interventions, and of course from the youth perspective, Arms Free Ajanaku, who has also been here. Please just wait. Omini Oden is right here for the next set of discussions talking about the 3rd year anniversary of the current administration as we do it on the NTA. It is a review of what has been happening and perhaps a preview of the final bend in the first 4 years of the current administration, as it were. My name is Fisai Ogunfi, thanking you for being a part of this session. It has not been a sprint, it has been a journey to development, and the nation continues to expect even more in spite of the interventions made so far by the current administration. You know where to see it is on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, where we give you news, reviews, previews, and interviews. Before I let you go, let me put in a few words from the president when he accepted the flag of his party to continue to fly the flag of the party in the next elections, and he made some promises as well as reel out some things he has done so far.
Our economy has undergone significant structural reform, supported by new tax laws and fiscal policies that have boosted revenue collection for the Federation. We promise to remove financial barriers to higher education for our youth. Yes, we have established the Nigerian Education Loan Fund with over 282 billion disbursed and over 1.5 million beneficiaries in school. We promise an improved power supply and end to estimated billing. In the past 3 years, we have closed the metering gap by supplying 2.5 million meters via Presidential Metering Initiative. We have established a 4 trillion bond program to settle verified legacy debt owed to gencos and gas companies. Under our administration, power generation sometimes peak at 6,000, 50% higher than we had inherited. Naira is strengthening, foreign reserves are rising, and our economic outlook is positive, despite the inflationary disruption caused by war in Iran and geographical crisis in Middle East. We have strengthened macroeconomic stability through improved revenue. In performance is high, financial management and a better fiscal coordination is ensuring. We have prioritized infrastructure across street transportation, power, digital economy connectivity, housing, by improving our airports and seaports. After decades of neglect, we have reformed the oil and gas sector, and we are attracting billions of dollars in fresh investment in a sector that was almost comatose. Our social investment and human capital program targets vulnerable households, youth, women, and small businesses. Yet, challenges remain. Many Nigerians still struggle with rising costs and economic adjustment. We do not dismiss these concerns. We understand them and govern not in comfort, but in reality, with honesty and action. I must also acknowledge the security challenges still confronting all in many parts of our beloved nation. I assure you that I take seriously the responsibility to safeguarding the lives and property of every Nigerian. Our government has intensified efforts to strengthen our security architecture, support our brave armed forces and the police, and forge stronger partnership with local communities. We will win the battle against banditry.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we sway in colors, with undying demand. We make solutions, we ignite passion, yeah. Diversity is unique, we have more than just a nation. We are Nigeria, we are Nigeria, strengthening unity. We know they carry lives. We are Nigeria, we are Nigeria. Together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
Do you believe in Nigeria? Oh, yes, I believe. Do you believe in our greatness? Oh, yes, I believe. Do you believe in our unity? Do you believe we can fight corruption? Oh, yes, I believe. I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe in Nigeria. Oh, yes, I believe. Do you believe in our local food? Oh, yes, I believe. Do you believe in Make Nigeria good? Oh, yes, I believe. Do you believe in our naira and dollar? Do you believe we can succeed? Oh, yes, I believe. I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe in Nigeria. Oh, yes, I believe.
Let's believe in ourselves. Let's have the right attitude. We've got all it takes to get there. Let's look inwards and revive all our infrastructures and galvanize our human and material resources. Nigerians, believe in yourselves. Believe we can succeed.
Nigeria, believe.
Powered by National Orientation Agency.
Thank you so much. We are still live, joining you from the network service of the NTA, and it is turning the corner, taking a look closely at the 3 years of administration of President Tinubu, but back to back, 27 years unbroken democracy in the country. But turning the corner once again, the focus is on 3 years of the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Fisayo, my colleague, took through in, out, went to the States. We'll still be doing a jigsaw, going to the States and back to the studio, and we'll still have a full house here. Sam Shudin is right here. Engineer Bindri, PhD, is right here to my right. If you don't call him Dr. Bindri, you call him Engineer Bindri, PhD. Once again, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And to my very left, we still have here Amsfree Ajanaku. Amsfree Ajanaku, good to have you. And just joining us on set, or joining me, or together, we have here Dr. Suleiman Barnabas, Associate Professor of Political Science. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you, sir.
And it's a town hall here in the studio. We have had a concentration of more men here. I wonder why Fisaya will do that. And we have more ladies the other way. But we'll try as possible to ensure that there's a balance in the discussion. While we give more time to the women there, we'll do less time to them. But we still have, over there is more of the female team, and over here we have more of the men. And before we begin, I'll start this way. Here we have a new set of people joining us from town hall. But before I sign off, Madam Alege, let's hear your thoughts. And I want to take you from the perspective of, if you take a look at Mr. President's speech or statement in the country, one thing is told to Nigerians. We still have Madam Alege here. Madam Alege, you're here? Is she here? Okay, fine. We'll just do a sign off on you. I just make your last comment. One of the things Mr. President said, the journey of national renewal is not completed in a single year or a single administration tenure. Nations rise when their people remain united in purpose, disciplined in efforts, and hopeful about the future. We must choose hope over despair, unity over division, and nation building over narrow interests. We have our challenges. Mr. President is doing enough. So what message do you have for Nigerians as we sign you off and your team?
Well, my take on that is, we can not fault that. Honestly, I believe in what he said, his aspirations, his hope for us. And all I would want to say is to appeal to the citizenry that we should find a way to be good followers. Let us love our country. Let us find a way to, follow rules, obey rules, and stop being selfish. Let us stop being just me, everything going around. As long as I am comfortable, any other person can go to hell. We should stop that attitude. With that, I'm sure we can achieve what he was looking forward to.
Thank you so much. Shortly, we'll be going to one of the locations to take a report, but give it to a lady on black to also make our last comment before we sign you off.
Okay, my name is Rashidat Umar. I'm an entrepreneur. So, the president has said it, that they are doing a lot, but we still need them to do more. In terms of MSMEs, there are lots more we need to do. We know there are policies every day, but these policies should not just stop in paper. There should be practical work, and there should be monitoring and evaluation. After every execution, they should monitor and see where it has reached and see where they need to do more in terms of that.
And
Thank you.
The next person.
Thank you. Mrs. Ijoma Wara.
Ijoma.
Yes,
go ahead,
Ijoma
please.
Wara. Okay. Nigerians are resilient people. Nigerians are wonderful people. We just know how to shift and think again on how to do better. I want every Nigerian, don't give up. Stay hopeful. Our hopes will be renewed. And I also wish that the government would look towards the SMEs, especially the agribusiness, help us to synergize SON and NAFDAC. It's a pain point for us with different agencies doing different things. They should synergize and help us with ease of doing business. But we promise, as Nigerians, we ain't going nowhere. We are not jabbing, we are here, and we'll continue to be resilient. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. And back here, well, let's go now to Lagos, where Joy Ken is there standing by to give us, Joy Ken, to give us update in terms of state-federal government collaboration. We'll be right back.
Okay, Omni, here in Lagos, Lagos has been a major beneficiary of the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu. In the last 3 years, a lot of achievements have been made in critical areas such as roads, infrastructure, transport, housing, education, health, and most of these have been linked with the renewed hope agenda with the federal providing financial backing, policy support, and strategic partnerships. I'll begin with the most visible of these achievements, which is the roads. Governor Sanwo-Olu's Themes Plus agenda is in alignment with the Renewed Hope agenda, and so many roads have been done, over 100 roads in the last 3 years, from Badagry to Ikeja, Igondo, Aja, Victoria Island, all over this, all across the state, so many roads. And I'll bring it back to the federal government roads. The federal government have also done so many roads, a few roads, maybe I should say, in Lagos, but they are major roads. Now, I'll talk about the Third Mainland Bridge. For those who live in Lagos, and for those who used to visit Lagos or who visit Lagos frequently, you would know what the Third Mainland Bridge used to be. There were potholes here and there. You had to take extra care while driving on that bridge. But now, all that is gone. The road from one end to the other, from the mainland end to the island end, is...
Oh, maybe when the signals are up. That was Joyce Ken from Lagos. I believe by the time she's up again, she'll give us further perspective. Back here in Abuja, I think, let me go to the crowds before I come to the inner caucus here. Where's the microphone, please? Can we have the microphone? Can you just introduce yourself to the new set just joining us? Introduce yourself from there.
Oh, good morning all. I am Felicia Ugu.
Okay, you're most welcome. Next person.
Good morning, Nigeria. I'm Barrister A.B. Austin Ogionwo, MNI.
Thank you so much. You're most welcome.
Good morning, everyone. I am Tiwatayo Olenka.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Nigeria. My name is Blessing Sunday Kuje.
Thank you so much. The mic should go to Madam at the extreme end. You have been through the program. You've been through the program already, and you have been introduced, right? Maybe for this time, introduce yourself to us. Let's get to know you right now.
I'm Nancy Gordon Bulus from FCT, the former president, NCWS FCT branch.
Okay.
And I'm Dr. Mumi Hassan, CEO High Tech Center for Women and Youth, a non-governmental organization. Nice being here.
Just for the benefit of those who are just joining us too.
Engineering Craft, Olanrewaju Hassan is my name. National President, Association of Tilers Nigeria. Also Chairman, Nigerian Association of Engineering Craftsmen, NAEC Abuja chapter. Thank
you. My name is Honorable Princess Nikki Onyeri. I'm member, National Council of Women's Societies, and National Convener, Female Aspirants Network.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Now, let's go back to the studio. I'll get back to you there. Let me begin with Professor Dr. Suleiman. So, Dr. Suleiman, you're most welcome. There's something about Nigeria. Leaders do their very best. But most times, we tend to see things half empty rather than half full. When will this change?
Well, thank you very much for having me. You see, when leadership is assessed, you would not have to look at it only from the perspective of what has been done. You also have to look at it from the perspective of what has not been done. So striking a balance is very important. And most often than not, it is what has been done that will inspire hope in the people as to what, can be done. So it is not out of place for people to be bothered about what has not been done. And that's a way of demanding accountability. That's the way of ensuring that, leaders don't take the people for granted. So the responsibility of leadership in that regard is to listen to the voices of dissent and see how that can actually inform them on what to be done that has not been done. So it will always be the case that some people will see it from the perspective of half empty.
Okay,
and others,
in not taking accountability for granted and also the leader listen to the voice of dissent, where is the place of sacrifice on the people?
well, the place of sacrifice from the people starts from an understanding of the fact that leadership is challenging and that resources are scarce. There's no nation that has all that is needed to address the challenges of its people. So the people need to understand that resources are not always there as it should be.
Yeah.
However, the challenge that we have with our people, particularly in Nigeria, is that those who tell you not to be bothered or to be patient are not patient themselves. Those who demand sacrifice, leaders who demand sacrifice from their people, are not showing any sign that they are also, leading by example, particularly the governors. And I pity them. I pity them not because they are going through any suffering. I pity them because they take the people for granted. I pity them because, like someone said, I listened to someone who said, overnight you see people who have not, been living in luxuries. In less than 2-3 months of occupying positions of power or authority, they enrich themselves so much that the essence of leadership is lost. And this frustration is what makes people to begin to doubt their leaders and not wanting to accept that very important, variable that makes every country great, which is patriotism.
Okay, let me hold it there. So what's the way forward moving on? Because the problems are always there. Just like someone will say, even the best democracies cannot guarantee 100% free and fair elections. So what's the way forward?
All right, for me, the way forward would be about transformational leadership and an informed and participatory followership. So I absolutely agree that those two components have to come together for you to have the realization of a country's manifest destiny. And within the context of Nigeria, our manifest destiny has been established, right from the time of independence. When you go to the address of the Prime Minister, as it then was, Tafawa Balewa, who talked about Nigeria's leadership role, not just within our own borders, but for the continent of Africa. And so, to the question about the way forward, we need to get to the crux of the kind of leadership that we want to inspire our potentials towards the realization of our national goals. And I dare say that that kind of leadership has to be transformational. It cannot be a laissez-faire kind of leadership, because when you look at the typology of leadership, there are different kinds of leaders. And if you have a laissez-faire leader that would take the back seat and say, oh, the followers, like my colleague said, should make the sacrifices, the followers should bear pains, and the leader or the leadership itself is not blazing the trail in terms of demonstrating that capacity to make sacrifices and make the right decisions for the country, then of course there will be apathy. And we can see that playing out at all levels of leadership in our country. We can also see that playing out in the evolution of our democratic culture, whereby we're now facing a problem of serious apathy in the democratic process, because a lot of people have become so alienated from the political process. They don't see themselves, they don't see their interests represented in the political process, in the democratic process. But that is not a problem of democracy itself. It's a problem of the drivers of the system and the followers in the system. And so, for me, the way forward is also that we need to deepen accountability, because accountability is what makes the leadership process to get the values, the shared insights of the people into the outcomes. And so that's really critical if want to get there in terms of leadership followership.
Thank you so much. Let me go to Engineer Bindri. Now, you go to some climes. I can be sure that most of us who have traveled out in and out of Nigeria, you go to some climes, and when there are problems, people don't look up to the leaders. For instance, if there's a problem in Nigeria, why should an average Nigerian be looking up to President Tinubu, governor of this, when we have established institutions that should run it? So people have been advocating for strong institutions, not strong men. What's the way forward on this?
Well, thank you very much.
I know we have talked so much about what President has done, but now, what role can the two faces play? The people, the institutions, and those in leadership. So within the ambit of ensuring that laws, extant laws, and programs are run within established, maybe code of conduct, and what have you, how can the institutions be strengthened for us to have strong men against institutions?
Well, I think earlier we spoke about the indices of development, the indices of prosperity, and one of it is the maturity of the institutions to ensure that everything is running and is running on track. In our country, it doesn't matter what you do. Well, if your leaders are good and your institutions are good and you are transparent in your processes, you certainly will see the outcomes. You will see the milestones. It's not a magic thing, So you will see that less of your people will be poor. There will be less despondent people. You will not see erratic people all over the place because the system is working. Secondly, if you're organized and you mimic what happens in other countries, you understand that your young, energetic people, particularly the educated people, should be in line with what the president, I guess, how he recoined the renewed hope. Their hope should be renewed in such a way that their energy is actually tracked through the maturity of these institutions, so that skillful people are doing skillful things, producing people are producing, manufacturing people are manufacturing. That is the secret of prosperity. That is how your brain is constantly busy, you're constantly going to work, you are getting a bit of payment, and you are happy with your country. And I've been to many countries, I've not seen a country where you have people, they go to work, they work for 5-6 hours, they are being paid, they come home, and they have dinner, and they wash, and they say, let's go and kill people. It doesn't happen like that. When you see people being killed, certainly there are things that are missing. So, in our country, that is missing. A country that is so well structured to have to work, from the top at the national level, you have the president and the vice president. That the whole Nigeria is their constituency. They should be interested to see Nigeria that is moving forward. Not one part developing, the other part is, no, this is their constituency. You drop down to the governors. We have 36 states and FCT. Every state governor has a territory marked by constitution. And he should be happy that this is my territory, there'll be less poverty, there are a lot of young people working. Why not? And then you break it further, you have 109 senators. Each senator knows its own constituency, a number of local governments. He should be prepared to say, I'm very happy that I deceived or convinced these people to vote for me, and now their lives is getting better. You come down to the next level, which is the members of House of Assembly, House of Representatives. There are 360 of them, and they have their own constituency. Until you go down to the assemblymen in the state, local government 774, then the ward councillors elected around between 8,300 or 8,500. This structure is wonderful. The issue is, are you holding the ward councillor, the elected, responsible to make sure that the primary schools in his own council, the medical health, he is visiting them, they know him. We are not holding, that institution is not holding them down. The local government chairman, like you said, is only when, before he comes into local government, he doesn't have anything. And then he comes in as chairman in 1 year. His house is good. The only road that he has constructed within the community leads to his house. He is the only one that has a borehole. He is the only one, Why? Why do the people? Because the institutions have not matured enough to say, hey, local government, you cannot behave like that. until you come up to our own level. So maturity of institutions is very, very important. And that maturity cannot happen if there is no synergy working. People must be able to come together and decide. Two, as we spoke before, you can only be omnipresent and know what is happening if there is data. You must know what is happening, you know, and it must be recorded. You must know when I came, this is what happened. You know what has happened to you. You came in without a motorbike. Then after 3 months, you have a motorbike. Then after 6 months, you have a car. You know, without any data. But you should know that about your own community. And finally, I think I will advise even some of us, whether you're a professor in the university or a director in the ministry or anything, you must be able to still have this country at heart. I retired from all these levels. I was a university person. I became a civil servant, public servant. I worked as a politician. But when I retired, I established Bindir Knowledge Center. This because I realized that, can you be able to produce another Bindir? This community that I see referrals running all over the place, I said no. So now I have a small center where young children come to me free of charge. And can you believe it? That we take a leaf from the fallen tree. Some are yellow, some are green, some are orange. These children are interested on the same tree, the same leaves. One is green, one is yellow, and one is red. I interact with children to tell them exactly why. Okay. I am telling you, push it to the next level. And by doing so much of this, you now contribute to the society. Secondly, you see these NCWS, they are here. I took 1 million naira, only 1 million naira. In this country, 1 million naira now is not a big deal. I broke it into 10,000 naira loan bits and had 100 women. But I selected these women very carefully. The ones that are making kuli kuli, the ones that are making dudu oshun, the ones that are making all with local materials in our center. We now told them that just make this in your own way. And we have the community to come and see. Free training. And the only secret is that I say, everything you do today, I will buy it. What they didn't know was that I bought all the kuli kuli, all the dudu oshun, I retransformed them. The kuli kuli, we pounded it, and we mixed it with chili and so on, and we repackaged it. I got my 1 million naira out back, and I got another 1 million naira to train more, and the women are making more money, and they didn't know that I was making money. And if they had known that I'm making money out of the riot will be too big. So you must do these things, because if you have the knowledge, don't die with it. If you have the zeal, don't die with it. And now, every day you come to my center is a beehive of knowledge, exchanging information, right from our informal knowledge, our survival technology, up to the highest technology. So this is how, even if the major institutions does not mature, you can contribute to make sure that at microcosm level, you can help the institution. Now even government institutions come to us to learn. You know, big ministry with big money, but they don't have these ideas. Yes. So we go there and we help them. So maturity of institutions is absolutely important. Data is absolutely important, and you have to calm down too. Don't put the sentiments on your life. You are a Christian, you are a Muslim, you are a Fulani man, you are a Yoruba man. Don't worry about it. If the pilot is a Yoruba man, and that airline, they are giving you nice food, and they have always flown safely, who cares? You will join that airline. So this is the secret of institutional maturity, and I hope we learn. And as you said, we go up to the Nigerian living Lagos. He's so erratic, he's shouting, he's abusing custom, everybody. The moment he lands in London, he becomes normal. He starts saying thank you. He starts saying sorry. He's carrying his bag. But reverse is the case too. He's coming back from Tokyo where everything is orderly. The moment he lands in Abuja or Lagos, he becomes a Nigerian again. Who do you think you are? Or do you know who you're talking to? This, we have to make sure that we work very hard to ensure that our institutions mature.
Thank you so much. Samsudeen, you're obviously the youngest among us here. There's no dispute about that. By way of signing you off, rail lines are put in place, people vandalize them. Is that government? The answer obviously is no.
The people.
As a way of your last thoughts, what message do you have for youths? So you have this mentality of sense of entitlement. It must be, it must be. What are they doing on their part to add to the development process or development agendas of all the government?
All right, thank you very much for that. So one thing so I like to just give a bit of background of how possibly I started. So I started off as a student leader So I was a former student union president of Federal University of Technology, Mina. And something happened while we were still on campus. About 8,000 students had to defer the session because they couldn't pay their fees. And at the time, we had to possibly discuss with the management, but the decisions had already been taken. So we look forward to, okay, what exactly can we do at the bit at student union level? So we discovered that there is a mismatch between the fact that, okay, there are children who comes from less privileged homes and they are also in the federal university system. We felt, okay, fine, if they can work and make money while they are still on campus, they can also support their education. So we came up with the idea of campus entrepreneurship, and that year we were able to train about over 100 students. So we had to come down to Abuja to seek for partnerships with some government agencies and private sector, and we were able to kickstart that particular idea. And subsequently, we actually had to possibly move it on. Now we've been able to reach about 34 higher institutions in Nigeria, and we've been able to train over 500 Nigerian students on that particular idea of campus entrepreneurship, the idea of being able to incubate your businesses on campus. And also, in terms of, our mommy earlier was talking about the idea of a policy. So as an organization, we started out in the last 6 years. And one of the things we are currently doing is to see how the National Youth Policy is being domesticated across states in Nigeria. So we are leading that effort of Niger State, and we are also working directly with the Federal Ministry of Youth. So, and we've been using media and the mediums like this to actually educate Nigerians. In fact, we even deployed a survey to even get to know how many young people have even heard of the National Youth Policy. Majority of them have never heard of National Youth Policy before, and this is a policy document that the government used to design programs and activities for young people in Nigeria. So we are also leading that effort. And also in the last 2 to 3 years, we've also been equipping young Nigerians who are transitioning from school to work, building them with soft skills and employability skills to make sure that they're able to do that. And we've also discovered that the issue of climate change is real. And we've also tried as much as possible to build the capacity of young people who want to start campus climate entrepreneurship. Because we discovered that when they want to do climate change advocacy, they bring young people and you give them the T-shirts, and at the end of the day, they go. But what happens to the idea of climate entrepreneurship? So when you're talking about recycling, you're talking about climate entrepreneurship. When you're talking about the idea of solar panels and solar installation, you're talking about campus entrepreneur and climate entrepreneurship. So these are some of the things we also train young people in our own little way. And over time, we've been able to have a stretch across 33 states in Nigeria, and we've also been able to present at international forums of what we do. So these are some of the efforts that at our own little level, we've been able to do. And we feel the fact that young people can also start in their own little way to say, okay, this is what exactly we want to do. We are not waiting for the government. Our own initiative started from the university campus, and now we've been able to have international recognition. So that is also what are some of the things I will leave with Nigerian youth. So one of the things that I also want to say before I leave is there are 2 policies that and legal instruments that are very, very important that the government needs to actually work on to benefit Nigerian youth. One is the Nigerian Startup Act, which has already been enacted by the former administration. We need to see how much of that particular promises of that document is being institutionalized so that we have more for the Nigerian youth. The second one is the new National Youth Policy that we're talking about. So we hope before this administration ends, a new National Youth Policy is being signed, and it's being also domesticated at the subnational level so that more young people can be able to have a legal document to hold the government accountable to say, oh, this is a document that you signed into law and you said, okay, this is what you want to use to design a program for us. How far have you gone? So if we're able to have this, we believe that, yes, the sky is not the limit, it's just the starting point for Nigerian youth. And I believe that there is more hope. So one other thing that I also wanted to add is the fact that, yes. So one other thing that I wanted to add is the fact that as Nigerian youths, there is this disconnect between the Nigerian youths and the government. There are quite a lot of activities and a lot of programs, a lot of effort from the government, but there seems to be policy miscommunication. There are a lot of things, those in charge of the government policies and programs are not communicating well with the Nigerian youth. So you see a lot of programs that is supposed to take the Nigerian youth from point A to point B, but they've not even had knowledge about it. Okay. So there is no how they can even benefit from it.
Let me just hold you there, Samsudeen Abdulrazak, Glowing Minds Initiative. It was nice to have you on set, and I believe the energy you are exuding will have to bring you on and on to sustain these discussions. By the time we are back, you will have been offset. Thank you for being on the program.
Yes, thank you very much.
Now, going forward, at the height of the subsidy regime, Nigeria was spending as much as 18.4 billion naira daily to sustain petrol subsidy, over 4 trillion naira in 2002 alone. Resources that could have been invested in roads, healthcare, education, housing and critical infrastructure, multiple exchange rates, windows and forex, created massive restoration, with Nigeria losing more than 8 trillion naira over 3 years to rent-seeking and speculative practices. This is contained in President Bola Tinubu's statement as his administration marks 3 years in office. Details of this statement are presented from our studio.
In our midst, the president-elect.
President Bola Tinubu says Nigerians entrusted him with the sacred responsibility of leading the nation at a defining moment in history. He accepted that responsibility, fully aware of the magnitude of the challenges, but also deeply confident in the resilience and potential of the Nigerian people. Today, on the occasion of the 3rd anniversary of his administration, he speaks not only as president, but also as a fellow citizen who understands the sacrifices many families have made in recent years and shares in their hopes for a better Nigeria. He acknowledges that when this administration assumed office, the nation faced profound economic and structural difficulties, mounting fiscal pressures, unsustainable fuel subsidies, declining revenues, exchange rate distortions, rising debt servicing costs, insecurity in several parts of the country. Energy supply constraints and declining public confidence in institutions all threatened progress, noting that the situation demanded urgent and courageous action, and difficult but necessary decisions had to be taken to stabilize the economy and prevent a deeper national crisis. Highlighting visible progress and economic growth, he notes that the economy is now more competitive and better positioned for sustainable growth than it was in 2023. Public finances are improving, states and local governments have greater resources to invest in their people, investor confidence is growing. The stock market is booming, with the all-share index rising from 53,000 and market capitalization of 30 trillion naira in 2023 to a record all-share index of 250,000 naira and market capitalization of 160 trillion naira this year, with companies declaring record profits and demands. Critical infrastructure projects are advancing at an unprecedented scale. Over 2,700 kilometers of highways and major roads under construction, reconstruction, or rehabilitation. In the oil and gas sector, the reforms instituted have attracted billions of dollars in fresh investments from the international oil companies that had shunned the country. The $5 billion NLNG Train 7 project is nearing completion to boost LNG production capacity, exports, and dividends. For years, the power sector suffered from debts, underinvestments, and uncertainty, which weakened generation capacity and limited growth. Today, the administration is confronting those challenges directly. On agriculture, education, and housing, agricultural interventions have supported millions of farmers by improving seedlings, fertilizers, mechanization, and irrigation, and by expanding access to finance and markets and opening of new agricultural corridors to create jobs, strengthen supply chains, and reduce pressure on household incomes. The Nigerian Education Loan Fund has provided over 1.5 million students with access to higher education, disbursing more than 282 billion naira to ensure that no willing student is denied access due to financial hardship. The Renewed Hope Housing Program, along with that of the Federal Housing Authority, is delivering over 10,000 housing units across 14 states and the FCT, creating over 300,000 jobs and expanding access to affordable housing. In healthcare, thousands of primary healthcare centers are being revitalized, while health insurance coverage is expanding for vulnerable Nigerians. On security and national unity, the President says security remains central to the creation of a viral and prosperous society, and the armed forces and security agencies have intensified operations against terrorists, bandits, kidnappers, oil thieves, and criminal networks. While challenges remain, many communities and highways are becoming safer and more economically active. Looking forward, the President notes that the work ahead is enormous, but he remains optimistic and wants all Nigerians to keep faith with Nigeria.
That was a report on the statement by Mr. President in marking 3 years of his administration. Back in the studio, we have joining us Professor Chigozie Ewere, Professor of International Relations and Strategic Studies. Thanks for joining us. Okay, let's continue. Before we went on break, we got Samsudeen to give us a perspective. Because when we say we are assessing at administration, we are talking about government. President Tinubu, the state governors. We as a people, do we have a role to play? And the last question we asked Samsudeen was, if rail lines tracks are put in place and people vandalize them, is that the blame, is government to be blamed or the people themselves? So let me go to the town hall now before we come to engage the team here this way. Beginning with Madame from the STD who has the microphone. What role should the people be playing? Is it all about government? What role should the people, Nigerians, be playing to ensure that governance is a two-way process?
My name is Nancy Godwin Bulus, the former president, NCWS FCT, a very good mobilizer at the grassroots level. What you are saying, you know, when you are in the house, you know where there is leaking. I am advising our president for the good work he has been doing for this country to pay more attention to the grassroots people. How? Through the area council chairman. I'm using Abuja as a point of contact. Once there is development and there is awareness to our people in different, languages, like FCT as an example, we have 9 ethnic tribes, right? And we have our local NTA. Am I communicating? Once there is awareness on these kind of things that they are doing, which is wrong, we as mothers in National Council of Women Societies, if we are given the chance, we have a structure in all the 36 states and FCT down to the grassroots. But our problem is fund, because it's an NGO, which is recognized by the federal government. And our national president, Edna Didi Azura, she has been doing her best, liaising with our first lady. She has been paying more attention to NCWS in the area of empowerment, but we need more. Because once awareness is there, we get back to our children. It took us 9 months to rear them to become something. So we know them, we have to educate them to tell them what you are doing, it is wrong. As a grassroots mobilizer, we have seen our youth are complaining of lack of empowerment. Graduates on the street, they have no job. Can Mr. President do it alone? No. He has to delegate responsibility to our governors, to our local government chairmen in 774 local government. Funds are being released. What are you doing? We want to thank Mr. President for what, especially in FCT, because I'm from FCT, what he has done to us. For the first time in the history of this nation, he gave us a window to get a federal minister, special duties as the son of the soil. He didn't stop there. We have seen the development in the 6th Area Council. If you go now, Gwagwalada, Abaji, Kuje, Kwali, rural areas, you will see roads, infrastructure on ground, which we have not experienced it in some decades. One, I want to advise Mr. President again. You see, I was in US in 2019. We went to Jersey, New Jersey, just some 1 hour drive from the capital. And I saw everywhere is developed. So if funds are being released, there should be check and balance, especially to the grassroots chairman to ensure that what Mr. President is doing, let it go down to the grassroots. Okay. So as to stop this corruption, to stop this, our children that are doing Yahoo things. We are not happy as mothers.
Okay. Let me just hold there. Short of say, let us also get to know that the National Orientation Agency is littered the entire country. We'll get to you. I hear, yeah, I will come to you. Thank you very much.
Because we perform.
Okay, we'll still come back to you. Jide Ojo is also joining us via Zoom. Jide, you can hear from wherever you are. Jide Ojo, okay, good to see you. And also, Uma Ajingi is joining us from our Kaduna studio. Let me stay, Uma Ajingi, what's the update from your end, looking at the content and focus of the program? Okay, it's not on. Okay, let's go to Jide Ojo. Jide Ojo, let me take you on now. You listen to what Madam just said. Is it off? Okay, Judy is off. We'll get back. So let's take the microphone to Madam Bumi. Let me take you from the perspective of inclusivity. Inclusivity in terms of, do you think taking everybody along covers the entire trail?
So much.
Where's the microphone? We need to hear you loud and clear. Okay, go ahead, please.
Thank you so much. Again, I'm Dr. Umea San, and the CEO of iTech Center. Very interesting question you just asked, and that's been my response. Recently, we decided, how do we become inclusive in reality? And when we're talking about inclusivity, I'm taking it from the little child that is in Nigeria. And this month, actually, is a children's celebration month. And one of the things we did, which has been a part of our program for years, is to look at how do we harness these children? How do we really teach them? You know, when you see on social media, people showcase, see China children. From young age, they can do A, B, C, D. They are not waiting to get to university. So the question is, how do we make that a reality in Nigeria? What we decided to do is that for the first time in our 22 years of engaging children, we said, can we train more teachers? Because that's where inclusivity starts from, the teachers. And we did a report and worked with all the leaders of different schools, ANCOPS, NAPS for private school, and then even the SUBEB, UBEB. And by the grace of God, we cooperated together, including persons with disabilities. We had a tech rally early in the year to ask for collaboration. NAEC, NATE, engineers, Ministry of Science and Tech. How do we develop? And this one thing we came up with, sir, is to train people. Let's train teachers, let's train volunteers who are interested, free of charge, just like the engineer Bindu just told us. We created that model. May 2nd this year, we started training teachers. We did it in the night. They learn from 8 p.m. to about 10 p.m. Some classes run to 11. And I was shocked because when they were beginning to learn things that they hear about in China, and it looks like rocket science, and now we are doing it. They learned how to produce solar. They learned how to do biogas, which converts waste to cooking gas. They were excited. Teachers were excited. And the idea is that learn in the night, go in the morning and train the children. Sir, in 1 month, the result is overwhelming. Next week, by the grace of God, June 3rd, we are doing the Children's Summit, deliberately now to bring those children out. What have you learned? What can you do with what you have learned? And then look for people who will become a support team. And we are trying to raise champions among citizens, local government chairmen. These tools, these technologies, it's not rocket science, it's not memory verse, it's not Quran quotation, it is tools. All technologies must be done with those practical materials. And we are asking for a token, 60,000. Just give a teacher 60,000 naira. We will be equipped with materials to teach 10, 50, 100 children. And we are replicating it. An interesting part, when my brother with person with disabilities was speaking, we brought them on board. How do you interpret it to people who can't hear, those who cannot see, so that they can be part of that online training, and then 1 weekend or 2 weekends, they come for physical and some practical section. This is being inclusive because we know Mr. President wouldn't come and do that for us, but there is an enabling environment through the Federal Ministry of Science and Tech. And we are celebrating the Honorable Minister there, because that's the question you were asking the panelists. Yes. How do we get all of these people in power, in our agencies, to become part of what we are discussing?
Let me just hold you there for now. I'll